over under on if I can get through this clean. We'll figure that out. All right. Welcome to The Wolf and the Bear, a spiritual podcast starring psychic medium and channel. This Terri Groom and me, your host, Sophia Sterling. Terri, bringing the wolf energy, has been a metaphysical practitioner for 50 years after her gift emerged at age 5. She's a published author of Altered Grace, an autobiography that shares how spirit helped keep her safe while being raised by serial killers, and is also featured on Netflix's Haunted. I'm your host, Sophia Sterling, repping the bear energy. I've been working in the metaphysical space since 2020 after having studied under Terri for 2 years and counting, as she is both my mentor and my mother from another timeline. We are going to bring real spiritual information channeled straight from source or straight from our own experiences, and we plan to package it in a kind and raw way. So, like and subscribe where you get your podcast, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to enter the chance to get a 30-minute reading. 2 names will be drawn at the end of every month. Let's do it, Terri. We finally got correct spot. I'm really excited.
Nothing. Absolutely.
We did enough to get here. Both of us are not very tech savvy, so the fact that we accomplished this, shows you.
Great tech. Yes, thank you, Spirit.
Well, can you imagine if, like, after this, all of the tech guys in the world are like, they need help. We need
We get all these phone calls and emails and messages. I know, I love it. That's a good
They're
thing.
just trying to help us out.
Yes, get me going.
You know, we've been friends now forever. I started under you every Monday for almost 4 hours it would turn into. Well, it's never what we scheduled, but it's always what happened.
Yes.
In that time, you know, we wound up having so many good conversations in your backyard, wine in both hands. But we always thought how crazy it would be if some of those conversations were recorded.
Yep.
And so here we are. There's been a lot of information and a resurgence of spirituality as a topic, which I think is amazing and wonderful and appropriate, I suppose, for the age of Aquarius that everyone's talking about. But before we kind of go into the way that this podcast is going to roll, I kind of wanted to get to talk about how you became in touch with kind of this metaphysical other side, so to speak.
Absolutely. Thank you. Well, you know, it started at a very early age, you know, and then Sophia had said that it was about 5 years old. And that's about when things started ramping up for me. You know, growing up in a very turbulent household, I had many hours by myself. My goal was to stay hidden and away. And so I did have time to spend just in thought and also just in energy. And what I realized at a very early age is that I was not alone, that there was so many things that I didn't quite understand, but I felt that they were working in my favor. You know, as a small child, we first so many times said, there's a boogeyman in the closet. You know, my boogeyman lived in the rest of the house. My boogeyman was real, and it came as my father and then also as my mother. So I had 2 boogeymen. So the spirit world to me was not as scary. So the things that I would see, you know, we refer to them nowadays as orbs and, you know, shadow people and, you know, different spirit energies. At a very early age, I just looked at them really as friends. And so they became a part of my life. They became integrated in my childhood. Some of them felt very comfortable. Some, as time progressed, and 5 turned into 6 and 9 and 10 and 12. Some of them, you know, were a little bit even scary for me at that point. But I did realize that there was something well beyond what was the physical world. And I became very confident that it was part of my journey to find out. They did a lot of work for me. They helped me to function in a very dysfunctional family. And to this moment, I'm very, very eternally grateful, and will always be grateful, because even though some people may look at the spiritual realms and worlds as being something a little bit, you know, off-putting or you know, perhaps scary, I looked at it as very comforting. So it really navigated my journey here.
I remember you said, because we've known each other forever, but
I know.
remember, and I think this was also kind of mentioned in your book, but not really. But so I know this, but your main guy, who we and you lovingly Brutus.
Brutus, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
When did he show up in your childhood? Or did he? Was it sort of, there was no personality to it, there was just safety and this knowingness that something around you was protecting you or helping you stay safe?
Well, what was very interesting about Brutus, given my upbringing, I was very hesitant to be around any men, I mean women as well, but especially men. And so I started getting more images of something that was working side by side with me and recognizing that this energy was male. Part of me was curious and part of me was a little bit taken back. As a child, usually our imaginary friends aren't, full grown adults. And so it's really the story behind Brutus to me is very charming, because as I got to know this energy, I started asking questions, and I wanted to become more familiar. So I did ask, "Who are you?" As you can imagine, a curious mind wants to know. They thought someone by them, on a 24/7. They want to know who is this. And so I wrote Brutus. And I thought, very interesting. And so I responded back, "I, Terry." And I just felt very like this frustration come across. And I heard it again as, "I, Brutus." So "I, Terry." Then I thought, but we're really not getting where we're supposed to be.
No.
It took me a bit, after several opportunities to say it incorrectly. I realized that I, Brutus, was actually the name. It wasn't that he was identifying himself as I am, but he was I, Brutus. And from that moment forward, we started forging a very first guarded relationship, as you can imagine, coming from a very abusive home. I didn't need another abuser. So I had to make sure that the spirit world was kind and friendly moving forward with more, more information as far as who now was with me.
And I'm sure probably also confused, like, why are you with me now? Certainly.
Well, absolutely. Well, again, given my my background and given my upbringing, I was grateful for anyone that wasn't, trying to, knock me on my butt or harm me in other ways. And anyone that seemed to have, kindness, I figured at least would be good for a little while. So I was not nearly as timid as most would think about dealing with the spirit world.
And whenever, so there's obviously a far cry from our early guides activating and triggering to be sort of known to us with what I could argue is like not as much work, right? Because some people, they can meditate 8 hours and they have trouble hearing their guides or feeling, hearing, however you want to say that. So, fast forward then to where you were not just receiving information that could keep you safe, but when did that transition to where now you were receiving information that could help others?
Well, it kind of evolves slowly, but I will tell you something, what you mentioned about, the community, society as a whole having a struggle with hearing and listening. And my guy, Brutus, is one of them, as we mentioned, just very, very, lovingly said, "Well, think of it this way. How many times have we not heard our loved ones screaming from the kitchen? The TV down, or, hey, do you want something from the kitchen?" And yet they're in flesh and blood, and they're in the most humanness form they could be, and yet we still can't hear them. So we recognize that some of that type of distraction is just kind of built into the human condition. But as I progressed and I listened, and again, when things are silent, you have a better opportunity to hear what is. And so I recognized early on, just based also on, what I was dealing with the house, that I could help others by simply paying attention to what my guide said and simply trying to help those that weren't so fortunate to leave my knoll. So there was a lot of inner workings between the guides and a small child while we were dealing with.
Do you think that also helped you with it triggering so young? Because we do recognize that is rare. I would believe that oftentimes guides do leave us alone to some degree until we are a little bit more autonomous.
Yes, precisely.
But that also probably, I would argue, because I've trained with you for a while, and even to the day, my access to my guides requires a lot more concentration and focus, so to speak, than sometimes what I see with you, it feels like. Of course, that's just a feeling I have. And obviously, when I was, younger, and especially with you actually in New York, I was so jealous. I was like, how this just comes so natural, but really, the price you paid was not nothing to that connection to kids who are so young. But then it probably also helps the fact that, it kind of, it was one of the original aspects of communication for you, just like
That's what.
speaking or learning dialogue is.
Yes. And that's a very good point, because what I recognized early on is that I had friends. They were friendly on the other side, whatever the other side was. Now, keep in mind, a small child doesn't know the difference between this side of the veil or that side of the veil. But what I did understand, what I did recognize, is that there was a difference between good and evil. And what I was dealing with it in the humanness, the human world, was not good. And so early on, my connection with the spirit team, the spirit world, seems very positive. And because they were working with me so intensely, especially during some of the hardships, I really felt very connected. They were basically raising me, and I was growing up under their tutelage. So I know there are a lot of people out there, a lot of listeners, a lot of people that would be hearing what I'm saying, and they would think, oh my gosh, you grew up in a trauma-based society, trauma-based world, trauma-based home. Well, I'm going to say, you betcha. But I'm also going to say that I recognized early on that there was a lot more than just what was underneath, the roof of the house. So I realized that if I could hear and listen and focus on something a bit beyond, that somehow I would be able to help others in the process.
Do you ever feel like, so, I don't remember if you wrote about this in the book, but I do want to bring up sort of that deal with your mom when you were about 13, and one of the first kind of real uses, I guess, to some degree, of this gift.
Oh, absolutely. And I do remember that quite well. When your day-to-day life is whether or not you're going to get a beating, or you're going to see someone else get a beating, or you're going to find someone who's not moving, in the slower floor, you come to a place where you're going to do anything to survive, right? You're going to use whatever gifts you possess to continue to stay, within this world. There's a lot to say about survival. So you're right. During that time, and you did pay attention. I'm very proud of you.
I got a good memory.
Sure does. Happy face. But during that time, you bet I made a deal. It's like, listen, I'm going to make a deal with you. You don't get me in trouble. You don't find a way to get me hurt. You keep out of my existence, my life, because quite honestly, anything more than that was unsafe.
And this is for your mom.
This is my mother, yes. And I will give you a service in return, because I was very in tune to the spirit world. I was also in tune to energy, in the flow of energy. And in my intuition, I could pretty much see where my father was and when he would be coming home. It was like what we see today in modern day speech. It was like a heat signature. And I could see a heat signature from him throughout his day. Early on, the term I used, and I shudder at this term into my adulthood, is that I felt like I actually was wearing him for a while. So I could see the what times, the whereabouts, when are you coming home, what is going on,
what he's doing at the moment.
Exactly. So there was a lot of things I wasn't really prepared to see at such a young age, but that I was willing to see in order to also survive. And so I kept my end of the bargain, and she did mostly a decent job at keeping her end of the bargain. I let her know when he was coming home so she could prepare herself however best she felt she needed to. And so it was a very interesting task for a young kiddo.
And you are the youngest as well of the kids.
Yeah, I'm the spoiler.
Wow. Well, also, it did sort of shake out to be true as well, obviously, and we'll get into this, I'm sure, later at some point, but, your your dad was very intuitive, obviously.
Yes.
And then there have been other members in your bloodline that are intuitive as well, very strongly.
Yes.
But at the time of the kids, you were the only one who was truly exhibiting those gifts.
Well, absolutely. And it's not necessarily that no one else was experiencing things, but when you're barely 5 years old and you're asking your sibling, "Hey, do you see the woman with the hair pulled back in a bun in the bottom of the curtains?" And they're looking at it like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so full of trauma and abuse that, you could tell me that there's a unicorn in the room and I'd probably believe it too." Do you see?
Mhm.
So there was a lot of almost like, but being very, well, okay, if that's what you're seeing. And then on the other side, it was, "You're crazy. This house
Yeah.
did it to you. You're nuts." So
And on top of that, I just remembered, or maybe they reminded me, all y'all were just completely discouraged from communicating with each other. So there was no real way to pair together if anybody else was really having these metaphysical experiences, and certainly not a level of trust where you could go say, hey, brother, sister, like we could maybe get together and figure out how to handle this, because you get beat, they get beat, everybody would get beat, and so it wasn't an option.
Well, and we mentioned it's not an option. It was actually quite detrimental for us to have any communication, because the rule of the house was, and again, divide and conquer. There's safety in numbers, and that doesn't work well in a very disturbing upbringing. Okay, so what we were told was that if we are caught speaking to our sibling, then they would get the beating. So what it did was it took away the responsibility and placed it on the innocent. It made it go back to the person that you were trying to get help from. So why would you do that to someone? So it was very easy to remain silent.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I always forget how crazy that was for you. And then we fast forward, thank God that you got out. And I remember you shared with me that you had sort of at some point said, I'm really done with this connection to spirit. This whole lifetime up to this point was garbage. Like then these guys are kind of over here trying to get you to do a good thing, and you're like, I've done enough. And eventually you just turned it off for a minute.
Well, and I did turn it off for a minute, as I wrote my book, and it really impacted me as I grew up. I made a deal with God. I said, "Listen, if you keep me alive, I promise I'll help your people. I don't know how it's going to be translated, but I'm going to help your people. I want to be normal, whatever normal means to a child, from 5 all the way up." I knew it meant something different than what I felt. And so for me, I felt very obligated to do something grand, to do something better. And so as I basically exited, teenhood, left at 18 as quickly as I could get to the front door, what I realized then is I had to sort out if I was normal. If I've been asking for all these years, I hadn't had any practice. So I needed to go into the world and see what normal looked like. So I didn't allow the voices of the spirit world. I put them aside. I educated myself well enough, even though I wasn't allowed to use books in my household. I educated myself with the spirit world, and I did start learning at 16, 17, and 18 that there were actually mental illnesses that people could translate and speaking to the opposite side of the world, and beyond.
But it was interesting.
And so I thought, oh no, I've been saying I'm going to be normal. Why do I want to talk to the spirits again? So long story short, with the promise that I made, and along with the fact that I was given many opportunities to make a difference for those, I hate to admit it, but for a while I put it aside. And finally I said, listen, okay, if I am normal, let's take a shot at this. If I'm normal, then you better give me some validation when I start helping people that they need it. That those I'm helping know that I'm speaking to the grandmother on their other side. Know that when I say your car is it's needing a new battery, that I'm not just crazy.
Exactly. Well, and that is, that's a real concern, and you just mentioned too, your relationship with God. I want to bring up real fast because I always think this is so cool of you and so much on brand for who I know you to be. But you went to the UK and you did a
Yes.
training, and
Yes.
then you have nothing to show for it.
No, I
Can you
don't.
tell us why?
Oh my gosh, I have to tell you, I absolutely love the training. I've always been interested in healing and natural healing. I made the decision if I was going to help, I had to find the modalities to do so. And it couldn't be just one, it had to be as many as I could understand. So I did it. I went to England about a couple different times, in fact, and did a very extensive course on healing and worked with a wonderful team of spiritualists. But what I didn't recognize and didn't understand, because I wasn't looking for it for sure, was that at the end of these courses, they asked me to sign a form so I could be certified and do some other work and, get more integrated than what they do in England. But I had to sign a form. And this form, I will never forget, because what they asked me to do was denounce my faith. They were saying, okay, now they didn't know my history. They didn't know my promise. They didn't know anything about me other than I was a student. But they asked me to give up my faith. They said, hand me over your faith and I'm going to hand you over a piece of paper. And you're going to get this to put on your wall. But I made the decision that I would rather have it in my heart and they could keep their piece of paper. So all my efforts didn't pan through as far as something that I can put in a frame. And you know what? I'm perfectly fine with that.
Oh yeah. Well, it's one of those things too where, it like I hate to death of it. Oh, you feel or no? You know what I mean? Does it feel better or no?
Exactly. And what I want to say, Sophia, as well, is that where they were coming from was a belief system. And that's where we get all caught up. They were considered, and again, I make no malice and no hateful statements, but they are a group of spiritualists. And I love a lot of the beliefs and the system of, helping and doing, but this community of spiritualists believed that there was no such thing as one God. And so when I was having to denounce my faith, it wasn't anything in their view as being treacherous or off-putting. It was just a matter of fact. And so that was a really important step for me.
Well, I'll move on after this topic, but I do wanted to say I will never forget in one of the first points of our training, and I had not said anything about my religious beliefs at all. And part of the reading material you gave me was a lot of biblical scripture that references God-giving gifts. And I remember feeling like, I was just impatient. I wanted to get to the good stuff. I wanted to see crazy stuff. And I remember clocking just the fact that it was really like comforting or something, maybe just to recognize that there was this other world that clearly through study and through evidence that spirit gives us seems to be true, despite that we can't see it, that metaphysical aspect. And yet also there's a lot of love from God and from scripture about it as well.
Yes.
So I thought that was, I'm not sure if there's other, I've been around the block now a couple times with the metaphysical community. You don't really see that. And I think that's really, really cool and wonderful.
Well, I'm going to add to that, Sophia. What you're saying is very interesting because the first thing that I noticed when I started working more into what we call the metaphysical community, I was under the impression that everybody that was similar to me had the same belief system as me. Now, when you're not opposed to different belief systems, I have a lot of understanding of many different faiths. I'm perfectly fine with that. But the one thing that challenged me was I realized and recognized that not everyone who believes in what we believe are kind. Not everyone that believes what we believe have a genuine purpose. And that blew me away. It blew me away because I thought, how can you have all these gifts and come at it from an angle of deception? And I'm not saying, please understand, I'm not saying that everyone was on that page of deception, but how could you not do it from the heart when these were such God-given gifts? Now, again, God, source, universe, however best you see it, I'm not going to oppose any of that. But we do see it. My dear, I remember so well you were ready for throwing fireballs. You were like, get to the good stuff. What you got that you can just, let's get all this going. But first we had to step back. We had to say to each other, what are you getting from it? What are you wanting from this? The gifts of the Spirit are our responsibility. They're not just a playground. They're not just to go out there and act like, like the best intuitive in town. They come with a lot of responsibility.
I'll never forget the first couple classes were your perception class, of course.
Love that class.
And you said, you're going to close your eyes and act and try to move that water bottle. And I thought, what have I done? I was so excited to be here, obviously, of course, but I just thought, I don't know how to do that. I don't really even know how to try to understand what she's asking me to do. And so that there and again goes to show, if you approach trying to quiet, which is really what it is to listen, with an urgency or an arrogancy, you're not going to be able to do it well. It's hard.
And see, as humans, we do a lot of failure. We want instant success. And we should through failure. We recognize that if it doesn't actually feel solid in our hands and our movement, that we must have failed. Perceptions is much bigger and grander than any of that. And you had to believe that you could before you ever would.
Well, I remember I just I didn't want to let you down. But I also, that fear, and now I've gotten better about it, obviously, but that fear of like, am I just making this up? Do I think I have moved the bottle, but I haven't, and then to extrapolate further on that, even just the readings that we now do, there's always that moment of, did I hear that right?
And we do. We get caught up in that phrase. In fact, we really should have it on a poster because people say that all the time. They truly feel that way. They have the most glorious experience. Their team, their guide, spiritual team, they're talking to them. They're getting this feedback and they're sharing it and relaying it. And at the very end of it, I hear it so often is, I think I'm making all of that up. And I'm going to say, in my view, it's the equivalent of sitting with your bestie. The spirit teams, they're your besties, right? It's like sitting with your bestie in the physical world, sitting there and your bestie is giving you all this great advice. And you're just staring off in his face and they're just giving you more advice. And at the very end of it, instead of being grateful that you heard one or two words or all of it, instead you look at them and say, I think I'm making you up. How deflating wouldn't that be to be in that role, to be across from that person that really wants to help and not really being heard.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like a guide, to be a guide would just be truly exhausting, potentially thankless. It's hard to say. It feels that way from sometimes.
Well, and I agree because they do work for us. But it's funny, I used to say early on in my business practice, I used to say behavior had come back and haunt you. And now what I do, and again, sometimes they got a little afraid of that.
Listen, it is what it is.
It's scary. I don't know.
You said that's a promise.
Dang, it is. But then I changed that up a little bit and said, worse than that, I'm going to come back to your guide.
Well, it is. I mean, so that's kind of the interesting thing too about, especially sort of what you said about whether or not we choose to listen and, but even for us as practitioners and to be the mouthpiece of that, especially if you're the mouthpiece for someone else's guides or your guides, it's really interesting because everybody loves to hear what you got to say until you say the path to happiness or the path to clarity or the path to peace. It's not what they want to hear. Suddenly, well, clearly, you must be a little crazy. Surely this isn't God-given. Surely, I'm sure you're not talking to dark energies.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you're like, oh, well, that's really interesting. Because when I said you were going to date that girl you wanted to date, all was good. Well, I was doing now. Well, now we switched up.
Exactly.
You said maybe not addicted.
I love it. And think of it this way. It's the equivalent of getting all motivated and ready and I'm going to the gym, I'm going to the gym, I'm going to the gym, I'm going to get healthy, I'm going to get healthy. And then you open the front door and you realize, I don't know if any of this matters. Maybe I can just get back to my car. Dunkin' Donuts is 2 blocks away. You know, what work? You know, it comes to us, but it is work. It is. It's sometimes, it can get thankless work. Because just because we hear and sense and feel and we give information doesn't mean that the recipient has been ever acted upon it. So it has, and sometimes it has its ups and downs.
Well, and also I will say as well, for it to be work, like you spoke about, and certainly a product of labor to, get to the point that which you can confidently communicate with spirit. It's it's kind of a call signature, I would say, for me, whenever, somebody finds spirituality just yesterday.
Yes.
And then you're having 18 downloads today.
Oh,
and it's like, well, now I'm curious because
yes,
I'm just curious how that functions, because we have to recognize if it were a language that were readily available, people like you and I would not be very interesting, and we would certainly not be sought out for the things that we are sought out for. So I do think that there is sort of a little bit of an ego trap in thinking that what we do is something really that crazy, because you and I have talked about all the crap that we deal with in our personal life, that if we had any gifts that was feeding that information back to us, we'd miss all of those potholes and road bumps, but we don't.
We don't either.
Exactly. So it's really, we don't know when betrayal's coming our way. We don't know that the person that we're dating is cheating on us, yet we can look into somebody else's life and backseat quarterback that whole vision.
Exactly.
So, I do think that the ego trap is a little bit misgiven, because it's not that, I mean, I'll speak for myself. There have been moments when I'm a little bit resentful, because I'm thinking, I do this to help other people and I'm cool with that. Right. But when there is this reality of we're still spirit living the human experience, we don't get to dodge our own stuff.
No, we don't. That's exactly right. And that's a good point, because we don't really want to have an unfair advantage, okay? If we are the ones, we hear it all the time, oh, give me the lottery numbers. Well, you know what? If I could do that, I think I'd keep them. I think I would go get them for me and for you.
To be fair, you did find out who was going to win the Super Bowl, and you didn't bet on it when you found that out. So that's on you, Terri.
Well, I learned from experience. I do better giving that to others than I do putting money on for myself.
Okay. Yes or no?
Yes.
Do you think there is a karmic, not even a karmic, but like a little bit of a backlash if you had said, because you said you at halftime you realized he was going to win. So say you went online and you did the whole deal. What do you think the consequences of that would be, if there are any?
Well, I look at it this way. I like to keep things simple.
Yeah.
I don't want to backtrack. I don't have to doubt, should I or could I or what. I just like to keep it simple. I still like a human vessel. I'm grateful to be able to do work for others. But when I signed up for these tasks, however that was, I did say others, didn't I?
You did. You did.
Yes.
Well, and you're right to, not to tie it in a big bow, but Taylor Swift, I love her lyric. And she says, I keep my side of the street clean. And I think about that often, because it's like, all right, everybody, there might be another gifted individual who would have bet that money, who would have made a little bit of a bag by doing so. But the reality is, we don't fully understand if the consequences, what they would be, da-da-da-da-da. So, if you just keep your side of the street clean, should be okay.
Well, exactly. And, I'm happy to keep my side of the street clean. Just don't walk into my kitchen, okay? It's been a long week.
Your kitchen is always lovely and smelling amazing and rich with amazing food. Really dry and chilly every time.
And I know you're asking what time dinner is. I gotcha.
I know.
Feel you.
Be there shortly. No. Well, oh, go ahead. So sorry.
But, it's so true. We do have, in all things in life, in any professions, whatever it may be, you're going to have those that are there on your side of those that oppose you. So for me, it does keep it simple. As you mentioned, it's keeping it simple. If I'm out there and I'm, taking money that is just hands and fist over, I know some intuitives charge a lot of money. And I'm going to let them do their thing because I don't have their cords, right? I don't have to cut any cord from them, so I'm good. And I think, I make a living out of what I do, but I'm also realistic. I don't charge millionaire fees for my neighbors on the street. Do you see? So I recognize that we're all kind of in the same playground together. Now I just have this talent. I'm not a nurse. I'm not a doctor. I'm an intuitive. And so
Yeah.
I do know that talent is a gift, and I continue to move forward as pure as I can with it.
Well, I love that, and I love you,
I love
and I love what we do, actually.
I love it. Yes.
Despite the annoyance I have and the things that I, get impatient with, it's like there's nothing that lets you kind of chill out knowing that you just helped whoever and you feel it too. I remember we'll move on, but I remember when I first started doing the readings after I graduated training with you, and I remember telling you, I think I gave away like one free reading or maybe a couple, honestly, or didn't count them or something. And you're like, you can't do that. But you did make reference to the fact that we do get a little bit of our own payment from spirit. And it's that moment of unconditional love that seems to happen. Because I'll be in mid hug with somebody, and then I'm not a hugger, and you know that. And then mid hug, and then they walk away. I'm thinking, boy, I've really hugged them. Why was I doing that so much? And it just kind of, you feel it.
You feel it. And that to me is the most beautiful thing about our work. There are plenty of days, and again, we're both humans, we need rest, we need sustenance, we need, time off. But when we do our work, no matter how fatigued we are or wherever we are in our mindset, when we are with someone, and I truly feel this, and I know this about you, when we are there, we are present. And that hug, I've had clients, and I know that you've had the same, they're like, wow, I look at you and already I feel warm and I feel loved. And I'm going to tell you, I may have, had a little road rage before I got with them.
Yes.
But when I'm doing that spiritual work and I'm working with others, it changes. And it's a whole different tempo because it's a whole different place that it comes from.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I also will say this, and I know I've told you this before. I really do feel it's only through the work in spirit of the last 4 years now that I've had a complete shift in natural empathy for people and for the crap that you see somebody put themselves through. Prior to, I'd be like, you're dumb. What are you doing? This is all this is dumb. Like, your opinions don't make sense. I'm very judgmental. And then now you kind of, when you, like, your favorite, well, the phrase I learned from you among many, is you have to meet them where they are. And oh my God, once you do, it doesn't look so dumb. It just looks like, oh, that made sense why you did that. And that checks out why you did that. Oh, and you were in a hurt position here, so then you did that. It made me a lot more patient in my life.
Well, and that's a good point, because what we recognize is not as a human condition. When you go in there with a bunch of judgment, you and I in an intellectual way, we know that 1 + 1 = 2. But you've got other people looking at it from a different angle, and their 1 + 1 may be 3. So I'm not going to write them off. I'm going to go find out why 3 makes sense. And I'm going to tell you, sometimes when you get the information, you can really see, where the trouble is. And you can see with compassion that, that your time is with them is very, very important to them. In many ways, it's their anchor. And so I agree. It's you go down that proverbial rabbit hole, you meet them where they're at. Because it isn't about us, right?
Oh. No, that's such a good point. Yep. And I've gotten way better at it now, but there was a part at the beginning when I was doing this, and I was so nervous all the time, and you know that, but it was innate to try and put myself in their shoes, and that actually wound up being a little bit of a judgmental position as well, because I thought, well, if I pivot, try to see from their eyes, but then I guess I could say like my prejudices of the subject matter were still in existence. I'm trying to see it from a different viewpoint, and that didn't really work either. So you do have to just kind of exit, let the guides and source figure out exactly what their best action is, because what they're capable of doing in the future and what I might be capable of doing in the future may not be parallel or even, the same, like close.
Exactly. What I've recognized too along the same thread of thought is that, when we meet people where they're at, any prejudices that may be part of your human existence or your human world, they just get slothed off. How wonderful it is to be able to look at someone and not see anything that you're judging or predicting from that type of way. To be able to look at them from the mindset is, I'm here to help you. I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to rationalize. I'm here to help you. Wherever you are, that I can help you move and propel further down your timeline. So you're right. I mean, there's many ways that you can sit with someone and be in their world. But how beautiful it is when you can be there and no judgment whatsoever, no earthly opinions, spirit speaks. I love it.
That was beautiful. You always nail it, Terri.
I haven't got that, but I sure not. I love it. Actually, I don't try. I listen. That's the difference.
That is the difference. That's it. Actually, yep. That's one thing that you ingrained deeply, I would say. Now that we have sort of gotten to know you a little bit, and by proxy a little bit about me as well, I wanted to mention, I had a question for you, and I also wanted to mention, what is your favorite memory of our training days? And if you don't mind, I'll go first, because I always get tickled with this.
I love it. You go ahead.
Because, the ego, man, for me especially, she out there. And I remember you one time, I asked you during training, and we were about midway through, so we knew each other pretty well. And I said, Terri, the topic that a lot of people love, the past life thing, which we'll talk about that one day. I said, Terri, do you think we knew each other in a past life? And I'm sitting here thinking you're about to say, you were my mother, we were sisters, like there was this lady. And you say, listen, I see there's a dreary little town, seems to be the very ocean. You said, and I feel like Terri, I feel like I'm inside sewing something or working on some kind of plot. And then you said, and I look up, and then I see a male horse going to battle. And you're like, and I think that's you. I remember just thinking, that is not what I wanted to hear. And then I was just remember thinking, that's okay. And then but fast forward to now, months and years later.
Yes.
It turned out, which you didn't tell me at the time, because you probably knew my ego didn't need to hear it, that there was a potential that I was present at the same time that Brian was in that town with you. So there actually was a lot of beautiful meaning with that placement. But I was like, I bet her judgment said, not right now. I remember just thinking, I really want something good.
Exactly. And who wouldn't? I mean, I can't tell you how many Cleopatras I've met over the last several decades. Okay. So I know we want the most from our past lives, but sometimes what we fail to recognize in those mundane or gray skies and that era, whatever it may be, that those are the most monumental moments of that existence. And sometimes we have to kind of let our ego go a little deflated. Not that you ever had a problem with ego. I know you were looking for something much more grand. Let's talk about ditches and castles and boats and beautiful.
Tell me I was a princess.
A princess? I mean, half the world is their princesses, so why not us, right?
I tell people this all the time, and everyone looks right through me when I say it. But I'm like, is this lifetime particularly crazy for you? Because there's probably more of those in your timeline, in your soul timeline.
Yes.
I mean, like, yeah, of course, there have probably been moments where we had authority, but equally as much we didn't. But everyone kind of wants that claim it. And it's like, well, I don't know how to tell you this, but
Exactly. And then one of these days, just for kicks and grins, I'm going to look at someone who's very, very intense and who really wants to hear that they are the princess on that beautiful white horse. I'm just going to very, very gently and slowly, without a smirk or smile, say, "Dear, I see that you are a snail."
No.
And such a gracious, gentle, low soul. I'm going to.
Flowing soul. You're like, and that's really what you brought to the table this last time.
And again, it's not to have fun, but it's to know. It is fun, but it's more to make people recognize there can't be, 50% of the society, the most glamorous, of all history. Of those that, did all the wonderful, monumental things in our history, in our lives, in our past. We can't always hold those titles. And we are beautiful souls that have had sometimes mundane lives, but also very rich lives, maybe in less, less settings than what we're anticipating or hoping for.
100%. And I'm sure over the timeline of this podcast, we'll deep dive into. Every time I talk to you, they're like, oh, there's little bits that I want to expand on, and we will get a chance, I feel.
Absolutely. And that's the plan. Yes.
But, okay, so we recognize that this first episode is going to be a little bit longer because I wanted everyone to have a chance to get to know who you are and certainly why I think you're so special.
And how are you sweet.
But let's go ahead and get to our first segment, which is...
Can I do one thing real quick?
Yeah. I'm so sorry.
I have to tell you the thing that we had in our sessions that I felt most endearing.
Oh, no. Okay.
Oh, I'll never forget the look in your face when I said, "Do you see the energy? The energy's everywhere. Look, there it is." And you saw something move across the front of our door. Do you remember that? Into the store setting that we were in?
I do.
And
I remember.
You kind of caught your breath for a moment because things got real, didn't they?
Mm.
And you could.
And I remember not even sure, that moment we just talked about, that I could be crazy. And then I didn't want to let him down. So I also wanted to be like, I didn't want to make it up too, or either. But yeah, no, oh my gosh. There were a lot of times where you proved to me that I was capable of doing stuff I didn't think I could.
Wow. You always had it within you. You just needed to kind of, bring it out and allow it to be rather than to judge it.
Well, and I couldn't have done it I don't think I could have done it with a different instructor. I don't know.
Well, you're very kind.
We put the work too.
I could.
Yeah, well, you're amazing. My God. Oh my gosh. And thank God for, the gifts that you had because, even the guide work. I mean, I'll never forget whenever you made me try and get to know my guides, and that was really stressful because I thought I was making crap up. And then I remember, you had seen pretty much the same thing I was seeing, and I just thought, this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
These energies are in the room with us too.
It was in all that. We were both connecting to it.
Oh, I do miss those days. But I am very excited about this new journey you and I are doing together.
Well, I am as well.
Very fun.
Very much so.
So, human to human, what has been going on with you in the world?
OMG. Seriously?
What? You're always busy. I'll put it up again. Terri does not know the meaning of a blank space on her schedule.
And that's okay. I'm happy to be busy. I love being busy, actually. And, I will mark a day off in COVID, that day off, and I'll circle it, and I'll mark it with an X in the center. And then what I do, because, with an X, there's 4 different spots to put names. I'll go in there and I'll fill in names. And so I don't know if I'm a martyr or what, but there's weeks weeks and weeks that I don't take a day off. But I love what I do. It's very energizing. So I am working on my allergies. So if my eyes look really baggy, it's not because of old people. It's really because of my allergies. And I may have allergies for at least the next 10 episodes, right? Okay, good.
Listen, everybody can, one day soon, as soon as spring hits, we'll all go under. Us and this stuff was Every tree out there does not want us to be well.
No, not at all. I do. I mean, I've got a wonderful family, including you. A wonderful family. I've got two brilliant cats. I really think they're smarter than I am at times. I started spelling around one of my cats, my female feline, Vita. I started spelling just to get her not to want to go, OUTSIDE. And she learned what that meant. So now all I do is start spelling it, and she runs to the door. So she's learning, it's not sign language, it's actually the English language in the spelling of such.
Hilarious.
So I'm having a lot of fun watching my cats kind of evolve more than me.
When they did his houses.
They're good. I know. I wish they would. I spent last week doing that.
Yeah.
They
I can't imagine.
letters, it starts with I, ends in psi. So what have you been up to?
Really just so excited you said yes to the podcast. Really been grinding on getting that put together. I have a parasitic twin that I just can't leave alone. So that's been great.
Very cool. Absolutely. Befriend it. It'll be there a while.
I'm pretty sure it's got its own soul at this point. It's creating its own karma. I don't know what's happening.
I knew it. You're like, move out. You're grown up.
Oh, man. So I just keep covering that up. I got my babies, my two boys, my cat.
Yeah.
And just really, really, I forgot. I'm going to Colorado at the end of the month.
I'm a snowman. I love that. That'll be fun.
I think so too. It'll be nice to get away.
Just make sure you return.
Okay. I can't handle the cold. You know this.
Well, yeah, that's true. You're right. I mean, there's snow in the mountains there. Yes.
It's nice in small doses, I'm not. Yes. I live in Texas for a reason.
Well, I'm right there with you. I totally get the need to be where it's warm. And I'll tell you, the screen centimeters with the nice snowy mountains are the best.
Do you I know you're a cruiser when it comes to vacations.
I am a cruiser. I love to travel. I'm a travel hog. Literally.
I actually love that about you. For all the workaholic, you know how to vacation and you vacation well.
Well, I've come to the conclusion that the only way I'm going to get a day off is to get out of town. So
you still take readings. I know you.
I take my laptop. That's true. Don't tell everybody, though.
I was like, hey, I'll have a podcast. You'd be taking your computer. Why are you not getting back to me?
I know. And I didn't think there was such thing as a psychic emergency at midnight. I've had them too. Dear God.
Everything's an emergency.
Everything is, yes. It's an SOS. Help me. But I do love to travel, and I've been around a lot of places in this world. And the thing I like most is just understanding and watching people live in their natural environments. To me, it's awesome. Now, I like the good life. I like to, hang out on a cruise and just chill. But I love watching people just kind of doing their thing. I've been to Ecuador, I've been to El Salvador, and I live to even tell about it.
Yeah,
that's right. So, yes, I mean, I am a junkie when it comes to travel.
Well, also, remember at Thanksgiving dinner, we were in that restaurant, and, everyone was kind of chatting, and you and I were both like, you see that mother-daughter? We think it's a mother-daughter, and they're not happy with each other, and we're just picking up.
Oh,
and it wasn't even just laughing thing. It was just like, this is fun.
Well, this is fun, I guess. And, again, that's, it's not that we're pointing fingers. Well, we are sometimes.
We're acknowledging the energy that is present.
Oh, that sounds so much better than what I was thinking. Yes, that is such a nice way of saying, look at this people over there. Boy, they're pissed.
I had wow. This is something I'm very excited for people to get to know about you. And it's so endearing. And you've taken me so far as diplomatic speech. But I always tease you because you have Terryisms.
I know.
And because you could say anything mean about anybody at any time or anything about a subject matter. And I remember recently you were talking about, unfortunately, you had a person who their partner was in prison. And you said, now, and you were going back, you already explained something else. You said, now, so we do know that he's in prison, not the best venue. I was like, what are you talking about? And that's the best of Terryism. I'm here for it.
Well, you know,
That's the best of you.
that there's a lot of ugliness in our world. And people know, if you're there, you're probably not really having a good experience. You're not having a good life, right? Yeah, you're not getting, more, you're not getting more than one phone call. Let me put it that way. So, in order to be able to move forward, what I've always told my spirit team that helps me, I said, listen, we're talking to actual people. These people have feelings, they have emotions, they know they're down a lot, they know they're stressed, a lot of them are. And so we don't need to perpetuate that feeling. We need to lift them up for the short period of time we're here. We got to we got to get honest, but we don't have to be hateful. And that's why these Terryisms, as you call them, they just naturally try and go, what? And I'm and even
I love it. I love it.
no,
Because I think maybe I'm picking up on that. Is you really do speak with love.
that's right.
And maybe I get tickled at the thought that there's really nothing you can't speak about with love. Not that I've heard.
Well, I'm very grateful to my team because again, I expect them to lead, to help, to share with love first, wisdom second. And I say all that because what we need more than anything is a good, healthy dose of love. And a lot of people are in short supply. Yeah. Wisdom, I'll tell you, wisdom is something that they're either going to keep or throw away. But a healthy dose of love is something that they won't even know what to do with if they've never had it. But they're likely to receive it. And so that allows with love and then I lead with wisdom.
Well, that's why you're the GOAT, Terry. I don't know what to tell you.
That's so funny.
100%.
Heard that expression? I did not hold. Okay, just for the record, just in case you haven't seen, the allergies that are in my eyes. I was like, oh great, I'm a goat. Oh God, I'm a goat. Oh no, goats are evil. I'm a goat.
Not from that
Awful. I thought, heavy. I'll have to find out what that is.
No. Greatest of all time. Greatest that I've ever met. I would definitely say, without any concern, greatest that Dallas has. So,
Well, you're very sweet. And I know I appreciate that. My cheeks are glowing, and so that means I'm very, very just sweet. That's very sweet for you to say it. And so thank you.
of course, I'm just lucky to be an intellectual legacy. I'm like, guess who trained me? Terry.
Well, and I'm gracious for you to say that because I've watched you work and I'm extremely proud of what you do. And I see a lot of integrity and love and understanding in your messages. And I'm going to tell you, that's what this is supposed to be about. We're not charlatans. We're not, scientists that are out there, kind of taking and pillaging their community. Okay. So we know we have a task to do. We know we have a job to do. We know because we do it out of love. It's what we come here for. Okay. And sometimes it might take a 14, 16-hour day. And that's just what we do.
That is what we do.
This is
And
what
we try to do it well, and we try to do it humbly and honestly, and like you just said, with love. Otherwise, what am I doing?
Absolutely. So many things can be solved and resolved by just having a listening ear and a kind heart. It's something that we're in short supply of. We're talking about the food chain, and how that's changed, and we're worried about that diminishing. I feel that we need to start first with what we already all carry inside of us and work towards replenishing that.
Dang. Y'all heard it here first. We gotta figure out what's going on in the heart, huh?
Gotta figure it out. Bishop Fancy talked to the heart chakra all night. But at the end of the day, if you're not using it, you'll have losing it.
That's what I love about you is you've always kept it so real, because you're right. You're like, we can do all the heart chakra meditations, but if we're still, down in liquor in the evenings, the heart chakra isn't gonna get going, like we gotta figure out. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it.
Well, how do you feel about picking our topic of the day? Because as we know, but they don't, is we're going to bring topics to the table every time, but neither you nor I will ever know what they are. They're just in the jar, we're going to pull it, and then the intuition or what we already have experienced personally, we'll talk about it.
I'm so excited. This folks, get ready. We don't know what's coming out of it. Here we go. Reaching in. Oh gosh, this is awfully small bowl. How am I going to get my hands in there? Okay, here we go. Whistling it around. I can't remember. Hold on a sec. Okay, I got one. Okay, what's our topic? Spirituality. What's that?
Let's go.
Oh,
there we go. See, that's that's the way this always works, isn't it?
Ooh, spirituality.
The perfect topic.
Nice. What a wonderful word. People get so caught up in what's the definition of that word? Well, what is it to you? What does spirituality mean? It means a lot of different things to a lot of different folks. Is it what we do? Is it spiritual? I think so. Can you still have the image of the ideology of God and be spiritual? Sure hope so. It means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And more than anything, I'm always curious, what does it mean to everyone else? We use it kind of as the springboard for what we do. There's something greater, grander. I mean, when you agree, there's something greater, grander.
100%. I think, though, for me, the most, especially as this topic continues to burgeon in the zeitgeist, I always hear this, and I kind of understand it as well. But people will say, "I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual."
Yes. Right.
What do you think that distinction is most collectively?
Sometimes I'm puzzled by their need to differentiate. Okay. I want to say something. I kind of goes hand in hand with that what you just said. I had people in my circle that I've known for years, and I had one actually attend my wedding recently during the pandemic. I figured it was a great time to bring in a group of people in that marriage. Not quite.
When you meet the twin flame, it is what it is, y'all.
It is what it is, girl. I'll say it. No, but she said to me, it was very funny because we did half of the vowels were coming from a more metaphysical standpoint, kind of the spiritual side of what we do, and the other half were from the Bible. And the end of it, she came up to me, and darling lady, she came up to me, and she seemed very taken back. And she said, come here. And I thought, she's going to give me a happy wedding day hug. And no, she didn't. What was really interesting is she said, come here. And I looked at her, she goes, I didn't know you were religious. And I thought, okay, is that like a bad cold? I mean, it sounded a little odd the way it was.
Did we catch it?
Yeah, can I catch it? Is it the bouquet? That I'm going to throw? What am I doing? And I looked at her, I said, interesting that you noticed. I said, did that bother you? She said, no, I didn't see it because and I said, good. It's done its job. People get caught up in having something to label, right? You're either this or you're that. Well, how about you're just a good person? And how about your good peoplehood comes from whatever source you need it to come from? So whether it came from God or from reading the Sunday comics of the 1970s, where it came from, it's part of me. And it was so curious to me, it was so interesting that someone really wanted to differentiate and put it in two separate, compartments. When really and truly, as I said earlier, and I truly mean it, it makes no difference what your belief is. Be a kind, loving soul. Show your integrity by helping others. And then you just as well as anyone else, are important and special.
Well, I definitely do. I do recognize, on top of course, I mean, I think the nature of the spirit, if I believe what I do about it, is that, there is this God-given flame that is self-animate and keeps us conscious and thoughtful and loving, or hateful, and whatever the polarizing issues would be. But I think that when sometimes, especially, we are exiting a period of time, some say, where the religious hold, sort of where there's this more organized style of worship and of believing what our soul will do and won't do under these contracts. I think some people feel injured possibly by, religion wielded unkindly and carelessly. So some people, I think, make that distinguishment as far as like, I don't believe what I was trained or taught to believe, but I believe something.
Right.
So there's almost this curiosity of like, I don't know that I'm going to go to hell. I don't really know what I believe about that or what I believe about heaven and God. But I think that there's enough there's enough, how do you say, like, amplitude in these new experiences in spirit. And they're like, well, I don't want to say I believe God because I'm mad at my parents. So I'm mad at the way that went for me.
Right.
But I also recognize that there's something happening. So what do I call that? And I think they sometimes just blanket that with spirituality.
Right. And, and that's well stated. It reminds me when you said you don't want, you don't want to look at hell and go, that's what it is. I agree. And I'll tell you quite honestly, the only fire I want to be around is a nice fiery campsite or an event. Okay. My intention is not to burn forever. Okay.
Oh, I don't know.
And so anything that tells me that I'm not going in that direction, I'm going to go ahead and embrace. But,
Right.
Cynthia, what's really important is that spirituality, if we look at it from the standpoint that it's just a belief that there's something a little bit greater than the everyday thing, that there might be something about either higher consciousness, a higher source that has a little bit more oomph in existence than the human vessel. And you're going to hear me, I probably wore out that term. Human vessel, for all those that are wondering what the heck I'm talking about, is, some people say meat sack, and I don't like that visually. I'm sorry.
I could say we could find some. We need a Terryism for that.
Yeah, I haven't been able to keep a paper bag in the house since I heard that phrase, okay? I don't like that term, okay? So I look at it as a vessel. I'm a vessel of most everything, all the goods that are called my innards, right? And all that spiritual information, all the good stuff. So the
innards.
Yeah, exactly, all the innards. And so I want to call it the human vessel. So my real need is for people to be less focused on the categories and going into the feel of it. What is spirituality to each and every one? And it doesn't matter to me if your idea is different than my idea or their idea is different to our idea. Believe in something. Okay. I have to throw this in, and and it's felt to be inflammatory anyway. I got a dear client that I saw for several months, and a very interesting lifestyle, far beyond anything that I would typically adhere to. I mean, I would never be jealous of that lifestyle, and we'll kind of leave it at that. A lot of way out there, so we talked about, prison in the last part of our conversation. A lot of things that would have been terrifying to me. And so I was very grateful when I tried to help her with her spirituality. She found God, but she got the definition of God from someone who was probably very angry. And so brimstone came in and swiped her across the cheek, right? And so she messaged me, and we did see each other for months and months and months and into years. And she said, I'm told I can't see you anymore. That what you do is ungodly. And I can't see you anymore. Now, I'm going to say, because I'm still in, as I called that vessel earlier, right? I'm thinking, seriously? I'm overcome everything from every walk of life. And we have been accepting and loving and right in the center of finding a path. But yet, I had become the evil one.
Yep, suddenly. Only recently, though. When you had to unravel all the issues in her life, that was fine, but now it's ungodly.
Now it's ungodly. And again, I value anyone having their own belief system. I feel it's our right, and I love that. But choose carefully when you choose such a firm statement, because it may be short-sighted. The funny thing about that is that she realized that seeing me every now and again was only half that.
So is she still a client?
Periodically, yes.
I'm so dead. Oh my goodness, that's funny.
Happy that I can help her even if it's a few times.
Well, that is the reality. Is we're gonna run across. It's like you just said. I think it really does come down to how do you feel. If you take on a mantle of a new religion, more power to you. But do you feel like it is making you happier, less judgmental, more capable in your own goals and desires, or is it just adding more rules? Because there's a lot of rules already to the world that we have to follow because we're humans.
That's
I mean,
right.
like, we can't abort that. So why, if you feel that you are now more locked into reservation against yourself, if religion is causing you to, what's the jolly, whatever you call it, so it is making you judge yourself so severely, you have to start wondering, I don't know what aspect of spirit would want that for us. If it's part of us and we're part of it, then there shouldn't be a version of it where it's actually reducing your energetic value, because we do have a finite amount of energy to any given day. So how do you want to spend it?
Exactly. And not only is it judging within, but if you're prejudging others because their belief system doesn't identify with yours or doesn't mirror it, then I have to say, in that belief, are you coming at it from love, or are you coming at it from judgment? So, we see a lot of that take place. And again, that's a whole session all on its own.
Yep.
And it's quite deep, really, when we see that. Because when one becomes so judgmental of themselves so that they can improve, and then they expand it out to all of their other, people that they come into contact with. How godly is that?
I've told you this already, but recently I've been in quite a few Discords and I've met some really amazing people. And recently there was a kiddo, and I really like him. He's very smart. He's going to be fine. But there's an era of, even the psychology has been proven. They call it the prophet era, and it's right after high school.
Yes.
So
Yes.
there's a lot of, they get targeted for that. If you think certain, energies that would like to scoop, that age up, it's a great time to do so. But, and he, we had private conversations and just quite interesting energy. But recently, he's been spamming a lot of the religious doctrine. And I'm like, that's great. That's great. In my head, I'm like, I get it. It's the right time. And then he kind of started getting preachy with me. And I remember, and I said, I'm not like everybody else here. Like, I'm grown and I don't need the preaching, because no matter what, I have to lay my head down with myself and figure out. And to me, that's rowdy. It's like, where do I feel good about what I did today with the people I did it with? Do I feel happy, or at least do I not feel unhappy? You know what I mean?
Right.
And then sort of figuring out what that line is for myself. To me, that's significantly more important than needing to tell everybody else or having someone tell me what that looks like. Because to me, it's like, I get very impatient. And I think, I respect that you feel so strongly.
Yeah.
I also respect the fact that I don't have to feel that strongly. It's okay. Anybody feeling for it?
That's right. It's just like some people's favorite color is blue. I don't know why, but I like purple.
Yep. Yeah.
I always have the right to make a decision, and I know it's not as simple as choosing a color, but it simply is. When you look at it from this perspectiveness, is you have that right to entertain a belief system of yours, to be able to live fully in that belief. And you said something that's very interesting. You said that it is affecting more of the younger community.
Yes.
And tell me a little more about that, because I do feel that there is a shift there. And I'm not saying it's a bad shift, but it seems like there may be a lack of communication in that age that you're referring to, that structure.
Well, I will say that the demographic, so there's a cultural thing happening right now, which seems to be this attempt to get towards more traditional values when it comes to men and women.
Okay.
From the perspective of, and some people call it red pill. So, and that's from the Matrix, right? Where you wake up or you don't. But this is sort of in reference to this new idea, not new, but it's like, well, women should be this way. That's more of a traditional perspective, raise the children. be a virgin, the kind of these really, really strong ideas about what it means to be a female. And then by proxy, that the males have this role to be the provider, to be the blah, 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 blah. And you and I have a clarity on what masculine, divine, masculine and feminine, what those roles kind of are more naturally prone to. But the issue seems to be that, there is a lot of discomfort with some of the blurring of the lines as far as morality and those sort of things. So I don't really know if these ages are being targeted for that reason or if it's an organic platform. But yeah, I do think that a very interesting, how is it? Everyone's digging back in sometimes to these older religious realities, like the female stays at home, doesn't talk to anybody, that kind of thing. So I don't really know. I mean, I don't know where that's coming from or what's going on, but definitely scripture is being brought up a lot. Maybe it's just in the Discord I'm in, but it is like everyone's trying to save Christianity, save, these kind of beliefs that some people feel are being really targeted. And then there's also some weaponization of the same thought forms.
Well, exactly. And I do see what you're saying. I'm looking at it from the standpoint, everyone wants to say Christianity. That's delightful. But what does that mean? I didn't know that it needed resurrection. I didn't know that.
He does. I'm just kidding. I'm so sorry.
Well, exactly. To go back in time, and I know that it's important to have a good solid structure, however that may play out in a family. Whether it's mom's working or dad's working, we've really migrated forward for a lot of real important reasons. Fortunately, and I do say fortunately, I haven't really been face to face with someone who has come to me from more of an ancient understanding of the system of life. And if I do, then I'm going to very straight face ask them to bring back the dinosaurs too. Because I'm good with that. If we're going to do this, let's just bring it all back, right? Let's get rid of everything and go right back to the fire that we didn't have, right?
100%.
Before there was fire and brimstone, right? When we didn't even discuss and know of fire. So, it's far-fetched to either direction.
But I agree. And in our work, I mean, like, to get really into it, I have never spoken to an energy on the other side who has had anything to say about whether or not they felt that their religious practices, nobody brings it up in spirit. They care about their family, they care about their bloodline.
Exactly.
They talk about, the beauty that they've seen or the discomforts and comforts. Like, when I hear like, oh, I miss cooking, they miss things of the physical world. Yeah. But nobody has ever said, no, I was a Jew and it didn't work out for me. I was a Christian and it didn't. Nobody says that. So until I hear that be a topic, it didn't steer it. Yes. And like, that's one of the reasons why I think it's so important that you and I are both active practitioners in this world. Yes. Because it's like, you can pontificate all you want. Right. But when you're actually feeling these energies that come and tell their grandkids, I like just recently the other day, this grandmother energy, she wanted her daughter who is going through a very hard breakup, a divorce, she's like, remember the strength of our bloodline in the matrilineal way. Yeah. But, I don't know is what religion she was. So, I know.
And I agree with that completely. In my work through mediumship, which is one of my most favorite, can't wait till we pull that message out of the.
It's my least favorite.
I love it. Well, that's mine for a long time, but it's become one of my favorites because it is a direct link. It brings us right to the heart. And most of the time when you start speaking of loved ones on the other side, you're bringing them right into that moment where their heart is very activated. And you're right. I've never heard anyone say to me, listen, I wish I would have, went from being, Buddhist to Christian or vice versa, or I wish I was this, or I wish I was that. It isn't really a topic that ever comes up.
If ever was someone, what did you say?
I don't need find it, and it wouldn't matter, if it was needed. Nobody would hear it.
Well, and on top of that, if I will just say this about the soul, because what I believe about the nature of whether or not it needs to be saved, so to speak, right? because there's only ascendancy or de-evolution, but the saving aspect is an incremental thing, to me at least. But like, I've never also had, if there were more soul-based tethers that from those structures, you would hear loved ones want their children to convert so that it could save the soul. And I've never heard that message either. About like,
Now you're gonna learn that.
and no doubt that they were going to see the loved one. So it's like, if there were these rules about tattoos or not, like any body modification, even in the circles where we've had trans clients, again, there's no fear about whether or not they're going to see that person again when they, you know what I mean? It's just like, can't wait to see it when it's your time. So I think that's interesting, because surely if those rules were true by now, you for sure, and me at least, to a degree, I feel like we would have received that message from some energy.
I agree. So what you're saying, really, in a nutshell, there isn't an exclusive club of the other side. You have to compel, take the membership and hope for the best. You don't have to fall into a category.
Well, and, to take it one step further, we also recognize that, things can get pretty dark, and you're still, that's the place of God's voice, whatever you want to call it.
Or like, universe, however it plays. Yes.
Somebody can do, and obviously you and I know there's some caveats here, but you can really make a lot of de-evolutionary mistakes. And lo and behold, they're right there chatting saying, I know I did this, and I know I screwed this person over, and I know I did this, but mainly there's a lot of humility about what they have done.
Yes.
But never like, I had to sit there in brimstone for 8, there's no version of like, dang, I got punished and now I'm better. If someone's just like, I really messed that one up, please tell my loved ones I'm sorry. That's always what it is.
Well, that's a really good point. Maybe I need to reach out to my parents and see if there's an explanation of this, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think, I wish that people recognize, and I don't say this to be like, to allow things to go, because the reality is what you do in this life gets logged. And there's no, it doesn't really, you can't cheat that. So eventually, whether or not you skip a bunch of stuff, that gets logged. So eventually it's going to wind up on your docket again. So maybe don't try to sit through, people who use, psychics as like a resource to try and skip all the things. It's like, I mean, I can tell you that that's a bad decision, but first of all, A, we usually feel they're going to do it anyway. But B, if you're actually intended to work through that energy, you skipping it this lifetime because you hit up Terri or you'd hit up me, it's like, I mean, I don't know, you're not really getting much done.
No, not at all. And I cannot wait till we pull that past life slip out of the bowl.
Me too.
Because we've got a lot to talk about with that subject.
I do have a question about spirituality from the perspective of, and I know this is, a topic we'll eventually go into as well, but for all of the misunderstanding about how to define it, we have to also recognize that there is not a revolution, but maybe, that's what they just said, where I feel that spirituality is actually getting brandished, sometimes in a playful way, in a deeply misunderstood way, But what are your thoughts on that when you see that sometimes and you realize, that not only maybe people have not taken the time to define it fully for themselves, but that they're already using it in an outward form as opposed to it being a personal thing?
Well, and I do see that. And, it can be very predatory. Recognize that, when you find spirituality, first, it's a very intimate relationship. It's a path that you climb that you have to kind of evolve into or evolve with and really come to terms with it. I do feel that, there are a lot of energies out there, a lot of people that are very persuasive, that are really, are basically preaching the wrong thing. I know I've met at least 6 messiahs in the last month. And I can't really believe that all 6 of them were God. Okay?
Doesn't that make you mad?
It does make me mad. What makes me mad about it, and I always follow it up with, if I am wrong, then help me to see the path and the truth of this. But my belief system is, you're giving false information to the masses. And there are a lot of hurting people out there, a lot of pain, a lot of suffrage. And people want something to believe in. We've seen it time and time again. There are a lot of those that drink the Kool-Aid. And so those that are going to preach and practice spirituality have a very defined responsibility. And it's great to have a belief system. But remember first that to believe anything is a responsibility first to you and your actions. And it better be of pure value, because there's a lot of phonies out there. And a lot of people taking advantage. I really truly have, and I say that, I don't say that lightly. I hear time and time again, and this is the latest and greatest Messiah. Now, I'm all about people with good gifts and loving gifts and helping others. But when someone creates, it feels almost, I'm going to use the word cliquish, but that's not really the word I was going to say, and that'll cover it in the other side. How about these cliquish groups? I'm really lay a very strong black mark on those of us in spirituality that are trying to make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, and I struggled with that a lot, back when I was training and was trying to really understand what it looked like to have somebody else's energy, to some degree, my responsibility, because what I say next will have a very real impact on their energy. And I remember just thinking, like, I'd rather die than say or do something that has a wide net of negative. Like, if I'm wrong, that's what I used to say all the time. But if I'm wrong, and that's why I'm still so nervous with mediumship, which more and more people keep reaching out to me for that, and I have to show up for the occasion. But it's like, I'd rather pontificate about your future than really try to get quiet enough to figure out what your loved one that you love in this has to say to you. To me, that's the height of the most responsibility.
Absolutely,
in some ways.
yes. And it is a responsibility. And I understand how, because again, I do a lot of mediumship. Probably I'm up to about 80% of my practice.
Oh, wow.
I didn't wish to go there. I was a little intimidated by what I might bring for me on the other side.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I mean, I tell you that record or an old movie I don't want to see again. But what I've recognized in mediumship, and that's something and something I train, and I know it'll be familiar to you. If you come at it from the ideology of, listen, if what I have said makes sense and it resonates with you, thank my guides. If what I've said is incorrect and does not, then I am responsible for that. So
That's so good.
What does that mean? That means that you're taking the ego out of it. When you take the ego out of the answer, when you take the ego out of the experience, you're coming from it from a very pure energy. And you're going to be wrong, because we're still human vessels. We're going to be wrong. And we have a wonderful team, but we may not hear well sometimes, right?
We might want to get home for dinner, and suddenly it's getting harder to hear it.
Right. But what we recognize that when we give information, it's not from us anyway. Now, it's not a vessel that's transporting the message. But when I recognize that the information coming from me is for the person, and it really has nothing to do with me other than a really good voice box.
That brings me to a question I've gotten a lot over the last couple months on those Discords, which I think this is a really good question. And I shared with you an answer I heard a couple weeks ago. But, what do you say? Obviously, we've discussed that you do have a very good relationship with God, and that you were not willing to give that up, even for the name of some paper that said you were good at what you did. But what is your personal response to the question that could be raised that says, well, who then are you listening to? What would you say if someone's fear is, well, what if you're listening to something from the astral plane, something non-native to your own energy or not God-given?
Well, first and foremost, from the beginning of all of what we've done and worked towards, we established a pure connection. We had established a love connection. We had established a spirit connection. We establish something that's only at the higher self, for the highest good, whether it's God, source, or universe. It comes for mankind. It doesn't come because it's bored and it wants to go and terrorize everybody. Okay? It comes from spirit. So, and I have heard that. Well, how do you know that your team is good? Well, quite honestly, so far so good. I'm still here, number one. And they've gone through a lot with me. And I made it that way as well. If I don't trust them and believe in them, and they're trying to get me to see that they're trustworthy. If I can't do that, then I can't do that with really anyone. No physical beings here, right?
That's so true.
That's a very powerful thing and I know the mindset. What and who are you listening to? Let's be quite assured that, hey, I'm talking to Brutus. Enoch from, the only man that did not die to go to heaven, he talks to me too. So, I know it sounds far-fetched and odd, and that's okay. But I know it, otherwise I wouldn't do it. And that's the best answer I could give. Because I can't get in their head and I can't persuade them. Because it's the power of free will, right?
100%. Well, and on top of that, so two things that you said. One thing you said is so accurate, but again, it's really hard to describe it if you've never felt it. But it's like we recognize that before anything is language, it's a feeling. And technically you could say feeling is a vibration. Like all of it's like that. So there is when you get to a position where your guides trust you and you trust your guides and there's an established connection there. And then on top of that, you kind of recognize, if I understand that my internal dialogue feels like this, that my guides feel like this, then the anything native to that, you naturally would give pause to. And so there's a recognition of what feels native, what feels correct for our energy.
Yes.
But the other thing too, and I think this shuts things down relatively quickly as well, is of course there are non-native energies. Of course there is the astral. Of course there are certain that haven't crossed over. So they're still very much locked into their prejudices and beliefs. But the reality is, those energies that are not native to us, that are not God-given, they will do things and say things with a honeyed tongue. And spirit will say the uncomfortable thing and the thing that your client doesn't want to hear. It'll say the thing that might cost you that client. It'll say things to yourself that you don't want to hear and look at. So if somebody wants to then attack that and say, well, that could also be negative, then I don't know what to tell anybody. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
well,
then we're all screwed. I don't know.
Well, and that's a valid point that you've made. You could turn the tables around and say, well, how do you know the God that you're praying with, is the true God? Give me your data. Give me your proof.
There's the guy in the Discord, he always says, where's the evidence?
Where is the evidence? Where's the proof? Have you seen his license? Have you seen his birth certificate? Have you seen anything that proves to you that what your belief system is superior?
Oof.
More pure. So, but again, you can get a snarky with it and go, a lot of faiths don't believe you can even, you're qualified to talk to God. So you're going to fill in too.
Dang. Oh, yeah.
Well, maybe I've got middlemen, right? Maybe I've got the apostles sitting on my left shoulder because they don't want me to get out of hand, right?
I mean, that's the reality.
It's the reality of it. It again, coming from love first. React with wisdom. And let people take the free will that is their birthright. And you cannot go in and actively modify someone. They're not machinery. You can't tweak them so that they have a different way of looking at things. You can only provide enough of what you have, enough of the juice, to get them to perhaps see things from a different perspective.
Do you have any advice for the younger generations, though, right now, still, like, dabbling in spirituality in different ways, whether it's the witchcraft stuff, whether it's the
Absolutely.
religious stuff.
And can I say this that it's from my heart? I'm not trying to be condescending, but I really like to say, Sweetie Pie, you are so vulnerable. You're so impressionable. This is your time to shine. You're going to get enough information to fill an encyclopedia. And you're going to have to figure it out. I can't go in there and turn pages for you. You're going to have enough educated discernment or just enough will to look further to figure out the path.
Amen.
Right. Or you're judging someone instead or with. Then maybe you need to take a secondary look at this. You know, if your take on this is to attack me for what I do, then maybe what you do needs a second look. But I'm not the one to give it a second look because I believe in what I do. I don't have need to tear you down to raise me up. Because I'm spending with all that kind of stuff. I don't need that.
Oh,
Nor
man.
do they.
That's so accurate and so beautiful. I say this all the time, and I think it's true. We keep giving away our power every year we can. We give it to witchcraft. We give it to. We cannot seem to believe that we, of our own energy, can do things.
No,
And it's like,
we can't. It's very unfortunate. You know, we allow energies, sometimes very unhealthy energies, to tinker away at our emotions, to tinker away at our spirituality, our way of looking at life, and we give it carte blanche. We say, go in there and mess with it, and one day we might be following this or that, and coming back into a whole different belief system. I want these young people and all people to be authentic in their beliefs. But if their beliefs come after me, then I have to wonder for what is it that they're gaining from this? Is the ego driving the carriage, or is source? The source doesn't attack.
That's why you say you always feel like you're fighting for the less organized side, is because the good will not mess with free will.
Right. Exactly. You know, there's so much out in this beautiful world of what we call life. So much glory and beautiful energies and wisdom in being human. But there's also a lot of things that make us fragile. We have to take our power. We have to know that we are capable with optimism to get the best of life, the best that we can. And I do feel that if we put aside the judgment, and I know that seems like just such a, gosh, how sweet is that? But it truly is about judgment. And when we get caught up in it.
It takes so much time. I just saw, and you just said caught up, I just saw the hamster wheel in your mind. It's like,
yes,
if we still all this judge, then that's like half a day. You know what I mean? It's like, well, or you could be quieting. Not even you and I both, we don't love meditation, but like other ways to quiet and maybe have a chance. You and I aren't special that we have guides.
No.
Everyone's got them.
Everybody's got them.
Every
person has them. And I'll tell you.
Because it's God given. Or God given. It's our birthright.
Right. It is our birthright. We didn't just pick them up at the 5 and dime. They're supposed to be with us. They have a responsibility to us. And therefore we have to act upon that. You know, I had a commemorative cover slide. She was broken adversary. I had someone who sat with me. And again, I listen to spirit from the get-go. And I say things, I do my best not to cheek up the storm. But she sat with me, sat down, crossed her arms across her chest, making sure she was well guarded for whatever I had to say. And I looked at her, I said, you have a desire to be very difficult. There's a need in you to be right, and the need sometimes far outreaches what is really there.
You just started with that?
I started, and I'm not quite quite honestly, excuse my French, that's a hell of a way to start out with a reading, right?
Yeah, but also if spirit said go, you say, all right.
Spirit said go, and I went. And again, it was very much that you're such an intelligent human being. Use your intelligence to work towards helping others rather than taking it like a tug of war match. And I said very specifically, I said, good things are coming, but you have to go for them. You have to reach for them. And the summer is going to be your friend. And I was specific. I said, June seems to be the month to change. And she pipes in, she jumps up, and she has her sword of ego. And she wanted to attack me. She wanted me to know that I was of the devil. I was evil because I was giving her information. And the whole time she was saying these things, it was very obvious to me that the spirit team that gave me the information from the start were very true and accurate.
Okay, so you know me, I always pick your brain. So in this scenario where she's just like, screw you and your little dog too energy, nothing you really say at some point is going to have an impact. So what are her guides thinking? Like, what do you feel from her spirit team when you have somebody who is really pretty far away from being able to actually hear them?
What I hear is I'm sorry. And I don't hear it from the person sitting across from me. And again, I will tell you, I've only had that happen twice in what I've done, 2 times in all the years. So I'm actually quite blessed. I'm not blessed. But how perfect it was for me to say you tend to judge others, you tend to be this, and I just kind of giving the information with a smile, not trying to be flippant or arrogant. But everything that was pelted back at me, thrown back at me, was 100% in alignment with what I had just said. And yet, the spirit was so forceful and so angry that she didn't care. And then I asked her, I said, who do you work for? And
my job. Did she
answer me. I offered to let her go up front to find someone else or whatever she needed to do.
Yeah, I mean, I will say too, just from my personal opinion, that truly is the mark of somebody who is working in the reality of what we do, as opposed to somebody who is not, is because, if you don't have that gift, if you don't have that ability to quiet down so you can hear what's actually up, you're going to pander to an energy like that, and you're not going to try to have a fight. You're going to try to get the money. So you're like, oh no, you're fine, and everything's great, and here's that amazing year ahead of you. And it's like, well, yeah, that's, a drop in the bucket financially, but there's no reality to it. And, you had to deal with this altercation that nobody would really enjoy dealing with. But you're like, I don't need your money. I don't really want to spend any more time with you. Like, I don't know why we're doing this. That to me,
not for sale.
No, we're trying to help people, but it's not, we don't need to be berated for no reason, I don't know.
Well, and again, we recognize that they're far to between, fortunately. But
I agree. That's very true.
And more than anything, it isn't up to us to really attack them. And I know some of the things I just shared with you seemed like that was a pretty forceful start to a reading. But she came to the reading, she came to the session with the sword. And I didn't know that at first. I just was the Thai team and recognized that we were actually having a little bit of a pre-battle.
A battle. Well, what you train me to do, and I know that you live by this because I've seen it 100 times. When I don't have a client, I get to listen to you do readings. I mean, but the reality is, we don't get to cherry pick what the message is.
No.
And so if it is aggressive, you have to just have faith that you would not be led to say it for no reason.
Right. Exactly.
Because you didn't wake up and choose violence. You had a great reading before and after. So it's that thing. I was like, all right, well, I guess we're gonna buckle in, and if we believe what we say, and we're not even the one judging what needs to be said, and so we just gotta bring it into the physical with our voice. Otherwise, that's about it.
And that's exactly it. It has nothing to do with ego. There's no, point scored one way or the other. Each person stands in their own energy. It's not to challenge anyone or to bring about some type of, belief system that isn't for them. It's just, if someone is to sit with me, my intentions are to help them, just like your intentions are. If they're not satisfied for whatever reason, if it's tweaking their belief system, I'm perfectly fine with that. I understand it. But in all things in life, show kindness. I don't want karma. And I do believe in karma. I don't want anything that I have to go sit later and go, maybe I should have done it differently. Maybe I should have done X, Y, Z. That's it. It's a human doctrine. We do that all the time to second guess ourselves. But we don't have to if we live in the spirit of love.
Then even the mistakes we make are to some degree forgivable, because the seed of the origin is of good.
Well, exactly. And again, I'm not, I'm not living in the way again of the egotistical spirit. I know, and I'll say it sometimes, and I have to forbid it happen, but I'll say, listen, if I've misrepresented, God's source universe, my higher self, you can strike me down later and tell me all about it.
100%.
Then, of course, it looks like this afterwards. Please don't little head name.
Plot twist. We're like, all right, Terri.
Plot twist, exactly. And it's like, take off. I mean it, but don't hurt me.
Right. Well, no, and it is. I do have a question about so when you said that they say I'm sorry.
Yes.
But I will speak for myself, and I know I'm not nearly as gifted or talented. I don't feel as you are, but I will say it is very, very rare that I feel like it gets to the point where I'm interacting with someone's guides. It's so, and I'm curious for you, is that sort of a last ditch effort as far as for you to be in direct connection with their guides, or is that pretty normal?
It's very interesting. That's a very good question. And I do get that. And I always have to kind of sort that out a little bit. I personally prefer not to talk directly to their guides. I have a great deal of respect for guides, and I do believe, though, in all things, that there's no ego attached. They still work for us. And I say that because we are a weaker vessel. And we have to protect this vessel. So they work for us. They don't always, give us what we need. And they're, free will contracts, the whole lot. I mean, there's things they won't get in the center of. But I feel that having a team is a very intimate relationship. And so for me to go naturally into around in their energy and talking to them, it's very uncomfortable. So when I do hear it, I do periodically, I try to be very respectful to them. Just like I would be respectful of their loved ones. I look at them much the same. They don't have to talk to me. I'm grateful that they do. And if they want to talk to my guides, they can have at it too. Yeah, we're kind of on the same, same arena.
Yes.
So
you wouldn't always be privy to that conversation. You just get what your guides come back and share, right?
Exactly. I try not to go and dabble in other people's teams. I may help them to figure them out. I may say, okay, team, we've got to get these people to see you. We've got to get them to know you're part of the world. So you're gonna play a little game with me, I hope. And we're gonna do these exercises to help them get to know you. But the bottom line is, I don't have authority over those guides. I'm asking them pretty please and thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, and that's the other thing too, is people don't recognize there's an ethic that I don't play with, and I don't believe you do either, unless you're guided to. But I think it's actually particularly, if you're lying, then it's just downright cruel. But it's just a practitioner. But even if you're not lying, and there's no guarantee that their guide is going to present who they actually are to you. So there are practitioners out there who are, you've got this guide, and you've got this guide, and you've got this guide. And it's like, that's a relationship that is to be discovered. In my way.
I'm very much in agreement, and I've seen it, and I cringe. Again,
it's bad.
Let's back to what we said at the start of our talk. Not everybody who has this gift comes from a good place.
Has the wisdom or the love.
And it occurs more times than I can count Yeah, oh, I see. Did you know George Washington is your guide? He's every year to the Bible. Yeah, oh gosh, did you see that? Oh, Prince is your guide. Well, I love all
Cross the finger.
yes.
Oh Lord,
Yes. Anytime I give thanks and gratitude to those that do believe that, and I'm gonna leave it at that. That's between them and Prince. But I do want to say there's just so many of them. Just kind of know it's about ego. When I start hearing it, and I go, oh gosh, okay. So you were the wife of the person who, the founder of the Mormon Church. Wow, very good. And I have no other recourse. I can't say no, that's not true, because I don't know for certain. But I can wonder why you were the third person in one afternoon I heard it from. You see?
oh man. And that's the thing you won't find on the internet, that at least where, and I don't see anybody talking about the fact that, you know, in a real community, and again, I keep saying this, but it's like when you get into people who are actively spending their time practicing, it's like, it's a small world. If you're out here saying wild stuff, eventually those people that you said that wild stuff to may wind up in front of one of us. And it's not necessarily our job to go and correct all these things, because again, we, if that person sitting in front of us is really tied to this idea, I don't want to take that from them. But
not at all.
But you are going to start to figure out who out there is really misrepresenting what we do.
And that's true. And sometimes, it's a slippery slope as well, because sometimes when they're misrepresenting their gifts, they're not doing it from a place of malice, but maybe a lapse of judgment or an ignorance.
Or a desire to be in connection.
Or a desire. When someone, if you have someone who's very lost and lonely, and all of a sudden you share with them, oh my gosh, did you know that Napoleon was your husband in a past life? You may have just turned their world around, if they know who Napoleon is, right? You might have turned their world around. And I could see where someone might feel like this very depressive soul needed a lift up, a facial. You know what I call a facelift?
Yeah.
But
not a
facelift. We can't. It's the same premise of you don't sell, take jewelry as authentic jewelry. You don't market something as something spectacular when it's not. When it's not true. And I know that might bristle up people, and I'm going to say to you, and I say this as a beautiful, well, I don't know how beautiful a challenge that is, but I'm going to say, if that troubled you and that triggered you in a way that made you feel that I'm judging you, then I want to say to you, if that's what you took out of it, then please give a little bit of thought about what you are doing on a daily basis. And if it triggered you, why?
So, to the audience, this is a Terryism for, if the shoe fits, wear it. No, I'm just
and it makes a difference if it's size 4 or size 14.
No, you're so right. You're right.
Put it on. Yes. And I'm not there to judge you. I really don't have the time nor the ambition, really. I've got enough to do.
If they're going to say cancer wheels and one hamster, we already know what the titles of those are, and it has nothing to do with your fate in the world.
Exactly. Really, if it comes down to me judging you or me going to dinner, guess what's happening next?
Glass of wine, some good food, was done. Sold.
It's done. It's done.
Human.
And that's what I love about this. We're not sitting on, pedestals. We're not, don't crown us queen. We're not that at all. All we are practitioners that have a belief system that what you do when you're working in this arena has to be authentic, has to be genuine. You wouldn't go to a doctor that is a quack, would you? No. And go, oh, I signed up to, I hear he's not any good, but I'm going there in a day. You wouldn't do that. So use good judgment, good discernment.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to who you sit with, who you're with, make sure that they're there for you and not for somebody else or something else.
Yes, and also we recognize too, um, I've never received a message from spirit or from a loved one that's passed that was charged with revenge or those like go and fix the world. It's always about the person. It's always about their emotional reality, their mental reality. Like there's no call to arms that I've ever heard.
Mm-mm.
I've heard like things like I don't like that so and so got this in the will. You know what I mean? Like
Well,
but it's
sure.
but it's like nobody's ever saying you need to go and attack this person that doesn't. It's like so I get nervous too when there are practitioners who are always kind of a call to arms. I just haven't received a lot of that.
I haven't either. And again, please to the audience, we're not really here to bash anyone. We're really not. I mean, you're an educated human being, and you can pick and choose all at your own free will. We're just simply saying if it doesn't feel like it's for you, perhaps maybe that's your intuition kicking in, and you need to take a second look at that. We all have free will. We all have discernment. Whether we use those tools or not is so up to each of us.
And spirit is there to help us use those tools,
Yes.
but not to have us sort everything out. Guys won't do that.
Well, gee, that I wish, I'll tell you. I've been trying to get Iris to do my laundry. So far, not.
Well, this is a me question, so sorry to the audience. What is your thought about when it comes to spirituality? Obviously, especially when you start to feel it, when you start getting those numbers coming at you from the universe and all these things that maybe indicate spirituality is getting put up on the docket of things to address in the here and now.
Yes.
Do you think it's very common that you find the names of guides? Because I'll speak for myself and say I've not yet received names from my guides.
And that's a big question. Because what you're basically, when you say that, what I hear is, yes, it'd be nice to know who they are, but I'm going to say back to you, it's not necessary.
Mm-hmm.
We all have more than one. I'm Brutus
Mm-hmm.
isn't my only go-to. In fact, I have to apologize to him because that's something that, but he's not my, we really aren't. So I have Brutus, I have Enoch, I have Gladys. But then I just shared with you some names, right? But I also had this little theme about that's about this being. I don't know what the heck it is. It's energy, it's blue, it's really cool. But I don't know other than it makes me happy. And he used to play ball with me. So
When you were a kid?
when I was a kid. And I see it periodically. So it's still 2 thumbs up, even though I can tell you if it's male or female or which thing with JDS in a little globe. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But it brings me joy and it doesn't seem to bother anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
So more than anything, we mustn't get hung up on names. I have a lot of classes I teach on my work. It's one of my favorite subjects. And you're going to hear me say that a lot because right now I haven't found something that's my least favorite subject, okay? I'll get there one day, probably. But what I always tell people is don't get hung up on names. Say you've got a guy standing there and you're trying so hard, you're not hearing anything. Every now and again you hear book and you think, oh, I'm hearing something, and you hear the book again. And the next thing you do is you're calling your guy Bob. Well, now along 6 months down the road, and poor Barbara, who's been working with you in the spirit world, is not accustomed to calling her Bob, but would probably give you a little more feedback on that name, but you're so acclimated to knowing what it was. Or
You've already named it.
You've named it. Now, it doesn't mean that there's ego, and it's not like Barbara's going, how dare you call me Bob? No. But again, if you want to develop an intimate relationship, take it in steps. Let it come to you. Let it be a part of you. Don't fabricate it and mold it based on what you need in the moment.
The desire to have an answer now.
Yeah, no. They get impatient.
You told me one time when I was doing the guide work stuff, and it was such an imprecise art to figure that out, and it was frustrating. I remember I had an energy that I can still, it was a stone setting, and he was wearing a gray, all of it was gray, and he was always turned away from me. And I remember in class one day I said, Terry, I don't know what's going on. He does not seem interested in talking to me. I'm not going to bother him. And I remember you said, you said, he stays that way so that you remain curious. And it was such an interesting recognition of like, they're not all just waiting for you to identify them. They're not, like, they're here for a purpose. And maybe you're getting to know them right now is not, they don't really care about that. And so then you know, we make these assumptions about their drivers. We know a couple things. We know that they're there to help us. We know that it's that we have a birthright to have them.
Yes.
And that's about it. You know?
Yes, there's a lot more to the story.
Yes. And I can't wait till we talk about that. Yep. Yep.
A lot to talk about with guides. But you're absolutely right. You know, I look at it this way. You know, being impatient is actually, and I'm impatient too. I'm human just like everyone else in the space of this world. Okay. Everybody has a certain level of being impatientness. But I want to say to people when they really do that, they start getting really anxious about it. I say, if you're eternal and your life never ends, this minute of being so put out that you can't right now and the now and the now and the now by your guide seems a little nonplus, because you're going to be here a very long time as you go through life to life. Enjoy it. Enjoy the ride. Find out more about that. Make an effort. You can't just decide, you know, well, I'll wait for them to come be something. No, make an effort. A little bit at a time. You know,
Oh, yeah.
amazing journey.
I think this whole conversation, it just reminds me like how much I love this stuff and how much I love that it's like, it's all there for us without any doubt, right?
It is.
I mean, but there's also this point where, and you know, you've probably heard me say this 100 times, but as much as I love this and as much as it gives me hope and faith, and it's actually the only reason I believe, you know, before this, I was a staunch atheist and and pre-nihilistic as well. And so it's like, this is one of the only reasons I believe in a good God and in a God that's invested in us, is partly this structure of guides around us that you see around everybody. So evidently, if it were more even, we'd have access to guides or angels or whatever, and also the other side, and we don't. So I think we have to go find the other stuff. So I think that's what is so beautiful. But with all that said, Twins is still doing the first. So yeah, there's personality, but like you gotta stay in a safe position, physically, financially, emotionally, and then have fun with spirit.
Yes,
But
exactly.
but you can't really.
Still task.
We have to live our human life. You say that more than I do, actually. You always used to say, but we have a responsibility. We're here living a human experience. You know, if we were meant to, you know, ascending this lifetime in a rainbow body, we'd probably have been born closer to that, or like closer. You know what I mean? Like there'd be ways that would make a lot of sense. But if you abdicate everything that you have right now, that is absolutely a free will choice. But we have to wonder. Surely there was an organization to why we're doing the things we do. So, you know, it's never my advice to fast for 18 hours and give up all your worldly things and give up your aspirations, because there's a good chance that's kind of off the rails. You might have had a plan.
Right, and that's true, and that's exactly right. You know, I do believe it's a choice. I do believe what we are as humans. I believe that what we are, our ideologies, everything's a choice. You know, coming from my background, coming from a very lost,
Violent,
horrible, scary existence, I could have made a choice to be scary and horrible too. I made a choice, and it's not, oh, you know, Terri, in the fact, look what she chose. She chose the angel instead of the devil, right? You know, we took her arm, they're on, you know, shoulders. But we have a choice. And I will tell you, I would much rather choose to be happy than to choose to be miserable. I would much rather be more ascended, more connected, than to be miserable and judgmental. And I'm about to make that choice. My upbringing should have dictated that I'm a bad person, that I'm a drug addict living in a homeless shelter. If I wanted to kind of it.
with your intuitive gifts that seem present in your bloodline, because you, like we've talked about this kind of before, you would have been an excellent predator. You would have twice what your father could have done. the offensive of taping lies and predatory nature with humanity.
Right, because quite honestly, I learned from the best.
Mm-hmm.
But the real important part was not the most. I may have learned from the human best to be evil and to be a horrible and to hate life. But what I listened to was the highest of that. I listened to what was best. And that was much different than what I saw. So if I can do it, really, seriously, anybody should and could at least give it a try, right?
Yes. Well, and just with the knowledge that, yes, of course you can go the opposite way, but we have a tendency to recognize that they do not ever seem that peaceful. You know what I mean? Like the people that do step in the dark, yes, there's power. Yes, there's not even power, but maybe even money, whatever you want to call it. And you never notice that they're particularly happy behind the eyes. They can't find it.
They're very vacant. Very vacant. Yeah. You know, we get to make a lot of really important decisions in our world. You know, to participate in humanity or to reject it. You know, to be loving or to be hateful. There's a lot of choices we get to make, and it has absolutely nothing, truly, to do with how we were raised and what we experience. We can reach further out, in even the worst scenarios, we can reach to something much better and greater. And then I feel the pain in so many people when they just feel like they are so stuck, and they tell me, I've always been this way, I'd rather die than be here. I say, no, you would rather be happy than miserable. And that's the difference. And if we look at it from what it truly is, you choose. Do you want a good life or do you want a miserable life? And then we can see that we have the power in the team to make all that reality. It's an incredible journey to believe. I mean, you know, I'm certainly by no means a preacher of the pulpit. But some of the things that probably wouldn't be allowed in most of the churches. The ones
Right.
you know.
Of course, yes, of course. That we're well, you know, one thing I just heard while you were talking, which I think was interesting, was they were saying if you could encapsulate what spirituality is, they were saying something like, and forgive me if I'm off, but spirituality, and to partake in it, is the recognition that in a non-physical way, we are interconnected with each other and with something higher. And that's
Absolutely.
all. You can be spiritual and be a Satanist. You can be spiritual and be, but it's a recognition that there is connective elements between us that are not seen. And to whatever you do with those, that's your business and that's your karma.
Absolutely. And I'm not there to be judge and jury. I'm not going to point a finger and say that your faith is better than their faith or my faith is better than your faith.
And ironically, spirit doesn't either.
Not at all. Not at all. And that's the beauty of it. It truly doesn't.
Well, Terri, there's not a single person I'd rather have this defined with than you, because I think you bring so much reality to it, as well as a deep understanding of the things that are not physical. It's like, it's hard to prove it. It's non-physical. Anybody could say anything, but yet, you know, somehow the information that you give is so accurate. The things that you share spot on to every single person I talk to, every single person I hear you do the readings with. You know, in my practice, you have a tendency to say things that you have no idea that they'll have an impact. And then suddenly someone's crying and you don't know why, saying a blue truck has them in tears. Only they know that. All I know is someone said I should say that. And so I did. And now we've had this connection that has meaning.
Absolutely. And I'm so grateful to be a good listener. Yeah, it's really important. And I feel compelled to say this right at this perfect time. You know, we really don't ever truly know how we impact others. Very briefly, I want to share this one moment that I had this was about 4 years ago. I was in better shape, you know, before I had the allergies show up and stuff and got a little different. I walked all the time, and I truly take great just joy in walking. I love being outside. I love being outdoors, and I just truly love it, right? And I like to walk by myself because it gives me time to think and to contemplate, to talk to my team, to enjoy just being. And I walked the same path, same place. The sidewalks were well trodden by me. And I did it almost every day for several months. I enjoyed it. And I had this woman one time stop me on the sidewalk. Now, I had headphones on because I usually listen to something that helps me to just kind of relax and get into a nice balanced energy. And I took them off. She said, I have to tell you something. She said, I've been very depressed. And I've watched you walk down this road almost every day. And I started waiting for you to walk down this road because I knew you were always walking. I don't know who you are. I don't know anything about you. But I do know one thing. You always had a smile on your face. And I started thinking, if I walked, maybe I would have a smile on my face. She told me that she started a walking program. And that also later in the evenings, she was walking. Before it got dark, she was walking. She didn't know if it was the same route that I had picked, the same route, but she knew that I was walking down that street. And if that street made me so happy, then she wanted to see if it helped her with the depression. So I asked her, I said, so far, how's it going? And she said, I'm starting to smile more. Now, that wasn't because Terri Groom is so all on the back. That's not it. What that was a direct connection to something greater, certainly greater than me. Okay? She was seeing something in the experience of the simple act of walking, a simple smile that triggered her. Spirit helped her to see that. She didn't get a message from me that said, hey, look at your window. This is on your
Right.
I never sent the memo. So she, for whatever reason, however it played out, became drawn to that. I didn't bring her out.
No.
Spirit helped her. We get to be a catalyst sometimes and helping others to find their place for a happy spot. And I was so grateful for this woman. And it was so incredibly kind for her to take a moment to share something that was actually pretty personal. So we never know when we're making a difference. I'd rather make a positive difference than an negative.
So true. That's so true. Well, and she saw hope. She saw that there was a hope that she could feel that way.
Yes. And I never opened my mouth to say anything. It didn't have to.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that experience. Now I'm trying to keep that experience close to my heart and to my mind because I need to get my shoes out again. Or at least another pair of shoes.
I feel you on that. Oh my gosh.
I promise. Yes.
We got you.
To get moving and get things done.
I think that with your work, and then through you, my work, and certainly from what I see, in the Discords that I'm in, that I think are very interesting sample size of really interesting people, you just start to realize that everyone's looking for hope. We are in a particularly what feels sometimes like a hopeless time. There's a lot of aggression spiritually and unspiritually. So, if we can find hope with our own energy, that's your best bet. Because when you place your hope into other things, you're guaranteeing that something else controls the outcome you're hoping for.
That's ridiculous. Well said. Absolutely. I've had such an incredible journey of just love and just I have such an amazing respect for you. You have, and I'm not saying that's all because you've listened to what I've had to say. I respect your journey. I respect how amazing you are with your clients. I respect you for being there, knowing that it truly is about integrity. You cannot teach integrity. You either have it in place or you don't. You can develop it, but most people will begin with it if it's there. And you have taken this beyond the place I ever thought was possible. And I just didn't know it was probable because that was That was your energy. It was your curiosity. You stayed in the nest, and I'll call it that, the loving nest, for longer than you actually needed to.
I'm so happy.
Tell you, it wasn't because you had a lack of learning or lack of understanding. It was because we truly understood each other. We really, really met in the middle. We truly are of that energy.
Well, and I kept derailing all our classes asking you about aliens and just, you never knew what I was going to attack.
I know. I'm just up to tell you, P.T. still went home. Okay? And lots of began. He went home. Okay.
I'll tell the people. I'll let them know.
Thank you. Just let them know.
Well, I spent the majority of our lessons asking you just a ton of questions. So, as we try to land the plane at some point, because you and I could talk forever and we plan
Oh, now, absolutely. I was already for dinner from yesterday. So.
Oh, God. Have you eaten today? No. All right, I get the. We'll get to this. Don't worry about you. So, at the end of every session, we're going to close it down with some questions from the people. So, eventually from comments. So, we'll say the section for just the people that are listening, if you can and you want us to answer questions for you, we're going to do it as a 2-part rule. One little question where it's like, oh, am I going to marry? Da-da-da. And then one question more broadly metaphysical. And we're going to pick 3 people to answer those questions each time.
Yes. Good.
Since we don't have any comments, I pulled them from some of my friends from the Discord. And so, yes, and I really do care about these people a lot. And so while I can, before we have a real following or any comments, I figured I'd say, hey guys, I've talked about you until they're probably so tired of hearing about you, but I love you to death. And I always cite my source for why I know everything. And your name pops up.
You're so sweet.
So this is the first question. It's from a gentleman named Pharaoh Gaglio. But he is also named after his grandfather.
Yes.
And he did not ask anything of a broader metaphysical, but he did wonder if there were any messages for him from his grandfather.
Oh, his grandfather lost his sense of humor. He says that he was very quiet for a while, but he ended up getting a little bit more acclimated to just kind of knowing that his spirit people needed it. People needed to hear his sense of life. His grandfather's telling me that his humor was funnier than his. He's kind of chuckling over that. I have a feeling that the relationship between the two of them lives on in their friends. And I do feel that his granddad is paying attention to what is happening in his life. I do know also that his grandfather wants to give him a message of hope. It feels like he's been a little bit unsure of himself lately. And his granddad just wants him to know that there's no reason to take this slowly, that he's got a lot in place, and to keep moving forward with it. He doesn't need to worry about being sure of himself because he's got a plan, and it seems like it's going to work out for him. His granddad loves him. His granddad is he's very friendly. He's just chatting to me. I can hear him just talk away. But he really does want his grandson to know that, to keep up with the good sense of humor, to keep up with the friendliness. He feels it's very important for him. And he's also saying, this is funny, his grandfather may be doing this as a joke. He's saying, got a job. So I think
right now, Sarah does not have a job. That's so funny.
So again, granddads may have a lot to say. If very well, we can decide to pay attention and follow suit with the things said, or we could just take them with a loving measure of understanding. But granddad is a great guy. He is. And I feel that friends is as well. Tell him to keep that humor. I've told me humor is something that's very vital for him.
Mm-hmm. He's a very stabilizing energy. I remember I noticed that one of the first times, because there's a lot of big energy in those groups, and I love that.
Yes.
It's a fun sparring time sometimes. But one thing about Pharaoh, I think, is he at least the part that I saw of him, he's always been very grounding for me. It's almost like he's always kind of has that fire of love, and I don't see that going anywhere for him. And just to, since he didn't, I'm going to add a little bit of time for him just because he didn't ask another question. He's had a lot of growth in his bloodline lately. But he also did recently have someone who passed. So there's a lot of activity in his family right now. And I know he was recently told that so he was going to lose somebody close to him. I was curious just to verify, because I already said this, but the concern was around his sister. But to me, I'd be curious how to
It's interesting. You know, and again, I'm very cautious of omens. I know how easy it is to get caught up in some of that negative soundtrack. I want to say that his sister does need to pay attention to her health. I feel like there's some, I don't want to say bad habits, but I feel like something that's just not working well in her body. And she would do well to have perhaps maybe a little bit of blood work done. I don't see the demise of his sister. I don't even want to really to talk about it. We don't want to bring that to her.
No.
You know, I want to say she does need some medical care, but I don't feel that it's urgent, and I don't feel that she needs to rush out there this evening to the emergency clinic. I feel she just needs to be prudent about taking care of some of her health. I feel that some of the things that is the concern is feels like it kind of runs into the family tree on her maternal side, and she just has to be mindful of that.
Thank you so much, Terry. I appreciate that, and I wanted to give him some clarity on that as well. I do care about him a lot. He's a great guy.
Yes, he's a great guy. He's got a warm, engaging sense of style, sense of humor, sense of reasoning. He's got a good point. I can feel he wants to make a point, but he does know that he has to deliver it in a nice, balanced way.
Oh yeah, he's an incredible person. He's come through so much. He's on a, I mean, I've known him since October, basically, and just so much growth. Great guy. I hope one day I'm gonna get to your house and eat all your food and then put you on Discord so you can talk to these people.
Oh, I would love that. We'll have to say I'm on chef.
All right. Thank you. And Pharaoh, again, from my own message to you, but I talk to you all the time, but I will just say this. I do think that moving at some point is going to be a really good decision for you, if only to sort of create some kinetic energy behind some of your decision making. I know that's something that we've talked about wanting. And I do think that, by being, even though maybe not moving from state, because I think that you and your family are very, very close and it should remain so. But, especially, towards the end of this year, making some big decisions about where you want to reside is going to be important.
That makes a lot of sense. And I figured that this decision will be rated pre-Thanksgiving. So that you'll have a better understanding as this at the top of November.
Oh, I love that. Good. All right. Pharaoh, love you, but we're going to move on. All right. So this is Iggalandia. I call him Iggy. He's a really, really cool guy.
Hi, Iggy. He's got a crowd and energy and spirit.
So his question was, and we kind of touched on this already, but his broader question was, why do guys help us, and why don't they make themselves more known? I think a lot of people have that question.
Well, it's the same reason why we can't pay someone to do our homework.
Oh, that's perfect. You've never said that before.
Well, we could, but we shouldn't, right? The bottom line is, yes, we can have help in finding out the pathway, but the reality is, if you want to get to know your guys, you have to do the legwork. You have to be there for them, and they are there for you. It's just a journey. It ends up being more powerful for you in human energy if you do some of that work to get that relationship started and built. They work for you. They're your team. They're here to help you. They don't need your help, but they're interested in you.
And why do you think, just to clarify for that, the first part, why do you think that they help us?
Well, John, if we were all in the state of mind that we were ascending, wouldn't it be great to have someone at our side who's been there, done that?
Yep. So it's always a choice. The guys will show up. Everybody's got free will.
Choice. Absolutely. It will taste on this.
There are energies that have incarnated here on this plane that now do not, and they are also not guides. So
Sure.
So the ones we got, they made that choice for us, and for the hope that we're going to get to where they are, I'd say.
Absolutely.
Okay, so his personal question is, and I'm going to translate this because I know what he's actually trying to ask, but the way he phrased it, he says, what should I handle before or after I meet wifey? But I think more than anything, I do think he would be very grateful for somewhat of a timeline. And also if there's anything that he needs to sort of put into action to be more ready for that to receive.
Okay, so he is he, it feels like he's looking for wifey. Is that correct? Okay. I don't feel that she's around him right now. I feel like he's still on the mission of finding it. But you know, sometimes when we, it's kind of like staring at the pot waiting for it to boil. We recognize that if we step away, the things happen a little bit quicker.
Ooh.
And I feel that he is spending too much of his quality thinking time trying to bring something around that's still not quite in his neighborhood. Not there yet.
Whether this stays in or not, I told him a long time ago, I don't feel that she's in New York yet. She's got to get there.
She's got to get there. And if he rushes past some of the process of this, he might end up, nabbing someone that wasn't meant to be and grabbing someone instead.
Oh no. This is guys, this is a terrorism. Basically, you're saying that there's a potential that he could actually, in his pursuit, there is somebody that is supposed to be wifey, but if he stays on the dating apps and does all that, then he could potentially settle for not who was supposed to be the one.
Exactly.
All right. Well, that is a very good message, and it's not always what people want to hear, but
no,
that's still true. Especially like what you said about when you try to stare at a pot too long.
Yes.
I love
He's finding wifey. And I'm going to tell you, when he does, he's not going to get away with calling her wifey.
I love it. I love it. Is she kind of spicy?
She is.
I love it. She would do well with spicy.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, last one. My dear friend Adrian. He is one of those age appropriate to the whole prophet era. Just also, I notice and I feel around him that he is very very skilled in understanding people. He's just dabbling in a lot of that right now. But actually a really, really good head on his shoulders. Fine. So he has a question that right now, I already know what you're going to say because I've asked you it. And the reason I asked you it was because of these discords, because this is a very hot topic. And so I'll ask it before I say anything else. Are NPCs real, non-playable characters? Are there a bunch of people in our world that we're running into that we just don't like? And then can we go and then say that they do not have a soul? Because that's what NPCs are. And right now that topic is really hot because it seems like everyone wants that to be true so that they don't have to have empathy. What are your thoughts on that?
Wow. And that's a very interesting take on things. It's amazing what these creative souls, these young souls, will come up with to worry about next. I truly look at it like this. I don't really do well working with energies that don't have souls. I kind of feel like that's a waste of my time, quite honestly. And so, what if I'm understanding this question correctly? It feels to me is there a link here that's saying, hey, is it permissible to do that, or should I avoid that? Is that what I'm also hearing?
No. They're basically saying that like you could be in a classroom of people, and maybe only 3 of y'all have souls, and the rest of them are NPCs and don't matter.
Oh, I gotcha. Wow, boy, I don't want to have to sort and mix that out. Yeah, that seems like a lot of ego going on to me for me to go dup goose and pick out the ones that have souls and those that don't. I'm going to leave that to the heavy hitters. The on-source universe, they're going to have to explain to me why we've got all this artificial intelligence that are kind of fighting in human clothing. Yeah, it's just it's an uncomfortable question, actually. I'm going to say more than anything, why would you even entertain that?
To expand on it, I think that there are a lot of people right now in the media that are alleging spirituality or occult knowledge, definitely both for sure. But they are the ones that are pioneering this idea that that your neighbor, your grocery guy, that they don't have souls. And some of it is, well, it also speaks to one thing that sometimes gets leveraged as well, is that there's only 144,000 souls on Earth. So then that must mean that some of them don't have souls. So I'm just saying the things that I've heard. And, when I was in your home and I asked you that, you said that so far, in all the work that you've done, you've never seen it.
I haven't. And, I don't ever care to. Because to me, I really feel this kind of almost the ideology of what the queer community was all about. If we, I don't know if you've ever seen that, but it's the essentially of taking one day and you get to kill whomever you want because they don't matter.
Oh, God, yeah.
Do you see? So when I look at that type of mentality, I have to say, I'm not the judge and jury. I'll never be the person to sit there and to pick and choose. And I don't even want to know that it exists. It's beyond my pay grade in human form. So I'm going to say that that's all there is 144,000, you say? Is that all the souls in this world? That's what that ideology is?
That's part of some of it.
That's part of it? Well, I'm going to say it this way. Dear God, I hope I'm one of the souls.
100%. I mean, right. I agree. It's, and I'm with you as far as well as saying, so far I've never seen it. And I'll come life of this podcast the moment I do and rectify this opinion.
It's like the zombies. Are the zombies coming down the road anytime soon? Maybe there is an apocalypse. We don't know.
I think it's a very dismissive aspect of a narrative that tells people they don't have to care about everyone.
It's a judge.
And that's it. And what a wild, people I care about. Like, this isn't, I'm not talking poorly. I'm saying this is a real thought form that's out there and it's big right now. It's like, if you are of the opinion that so far you cannot speak to your guides, but you would like to, then please do not think to be so arrogant that you can have the skill set to deduce whether or not your neighbor that does not seem as awoken as you are, awakened, whatever, or, or as spiritually inclined or intelligent, or maybe they do things that you think look dumb and rote, as far as rote memory or no ambition. But it's like, come on. What makes anybody think that they have the ability to diagnose if another person has a soul or not? See, that's just
well, exactly. I think it brings us back to, kind of the thought process of, well, maybe all redheads are stupid, or maybe all people that, have blue eyes are zombies. We get into such an ignorance that we really do lose sight of what is important. And, it seems like a whole lot of work to me to sit and start judging and pointing. I grimace at that. And I would be hard pressed to be very supportive of any notion. Not everybody, duck views, 1 out of every 3 is non-human, soulless soul that deserves to be, basically terminated. What a horrible existence.
And I would like to bring up just this other aspect that is in tandem with this, and this is a belief I do hold as well. Terri, I don't know if you've come across this thought form before, but I do believe that there are ascended souls that will come and have a partition of their soul play out a role. Actually, that is not a soulless energy. That is a very ascended soul, dropping itself down entire density to help people play out karma. And so that is a different soul than you or I, that we have individuated karma and there are higher energies that are just trying to help us out in a different form that's not guided. But you will incur karma by being cruel to that energy, even though it doesn't have the soul that we would assume. So, just be mindful that, like, the only version of empathy that I'm aware of is from a very ascended soul. So, I'm saying the closest thing I know to that, and even it's not, they're not synonymous, but you'll be mindful if you if you really, 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 really think that there's someone in front of you who is not clocking karma, then then it might be a very offended energy, or you're wrong. I don't know. I'm just curious. I always like to have that out there as a possibility.
Serious, dude. I like that. Yes. Or you might be wrong.
All right. And now a very personal question.
Yes.
And thank Adrian for asking that. He's one of those that dude, I love him to death. He's such a cool guy. He's wild. He's gonna get hit because his mouth is so wild, but really, really cool guy. And can't wait till. Oh yeah, he's crazy.
He needs to learn to duck better. That's all.
Oh well, what I love about him too is he's got a huge heart. So he'll be over here saying, "Oh, they don't have a soul," but then I've never once seen him treat somebody like they don't, or without. And I don't think it's his energy to do so. So it's regardless of what he believes, he certainly doesn't act like it, like that. He doesn't treat people that way. Which I love about him. His personal question, I would argue that he's a little bit in love, but then also again, he's got a lot on his plate. He's in school. He's I think 20 or 21. He says. And he kind of slid, he's always pushing the envelope. He kind of slid 2 in here, but we'll roll with it. Is love determined ahead of time? And is the girl I'm seeing now the mother of my future kid?
Boy, he wants the answer in the here and now. She's the mother of his future kids.
And I read her chart with her permission. Mm-hmm. She is it shows up in her chart that she would be a very good mother.
Yeah.
But be that as it may.
Taking out her 3 children, it feels like.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, actually, there's likely to be 3. And I do feel that she is, of course, he has to, ask her permission for all of this, right?
Yes, that would be very, very important.
Yeah, I do feel that she is definitely a candidate to that. Fluidity to really come in and, kind of bash him around. He's not careful. He's got to make sure he's attentive. And that he keeps nurturing the relationship. So that's the free will side of it. But I do feel that this relationship feels pretty solid.
Oh my gosh, I just got goosebumps because I'm so invested in his success. I don't even know why.
Yeah, he's a great guy. And I do feel that he, again, doesn't mean he has to be complacent and, oh gosh, I've got the line. I think Tid were great. It's actually the opposite. Now he has to nurture the relationship. So that his 3 kids will know that that he loves their mother.
Oh my God, that is so amazing. Do you think he's gonna be? Because I've thought this before. Will he? Because now I'm just selfishly asking. This is for me.
Shut up! No, that's okay.
Will he have sons or daughters? You think, or a little bit?
There's definitely one son because I see him playing baseball. When I saw your friend that he has to watch his elbow because he's got a little tendonitis in it, and he's got to get the elbow working better as he starts to play with the ball with his child.
Oh my gosh! I thought you were talking about the kid. No, just saying Adrian. Adrian can show up as a dad for baseball? Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's so incredible. And then the other 2 girls, because I felt a lot of girl energy. Yeah.
I do feel a lot of girl energy. But I do feel there will be a point. And I feel like this child in particular will like baseball.
See, I remember thinking, I don't think I even said this to him, because I don't like to speak about these things when asked. But, one time he was kind of spouting off about women, like joking, I think, to some degree.
Right.
But, trying to be a boy and fit in. And I remember just thinking, your daughters are going to straighten this out. But I didn't know where that came from. That's so funny. Well, that is amazing. I love that for Adrian. I love that. I like him so much. He's a really, really good kid. But yeah, those 3, Adrian, Iggy, Pharaoh, they're really incredible people. So thank you for, giving some insight on their questions. I know that they will be really grateful.
And whether, again, hopefully they'll appreciate the answers and, won't scare them off. But I do feel that, that's right. Yes.
Well, as you say, at the end of your readings, we have done it.
We have done it. Yes. No, you have to say it like that.
We have done it.
Oh my
God. What we've co-created.
We've co-created. I'm really supposed to jump in there and get a little bit of that accent out there while we say we've done it.
I love it. I love it.
I love it as well.
Terri, I think the world of you. You know this. I love you to the moon and back. You are,
I feel the same.
oh, there are no words.
You're an amazing soul, and how fun it is to sit here and to, not only reminisce, but bring forward sort of some of the real, pertinent questions that are just all over the place now. Everyone wants to have the answers to a lot of the things that we're talking about. I'm grateful to be a part of that process.
Me too. Me too. And, we're not out here to change anyone's minds, but we're out here to be a source of information for people that really, we don't really have an agenda. We're just trying to bring it the way that we feel it to be true as people that do this every day.
Yes.
For real. Because I think that makes it.
Absolutely. Yes, indeed. There are several answers out there, and we're not asking you to only accept ours, but we are asking you to pay attention and to accept the ones that are right for you.
I couldn't agree more. I will say this, so just to run through it, if you'd like to have your questions answered, go ahead and comment underneath with one personal question and one of a broader source. Also, subscribe to our channel, and that will basically be what we pull from every month as the person that gets the free reading. We pick 2 every month. Terri, we can find you obviously at your website, which I'll link below. Also, your book, I'll put it down below. You can get that wherever you get books, but I'm going to link the Amazon one.
Thank you.
Of course.
Appreciate that.
And I'm trying to think of what else, if there's anything coming up. When is the next Wellness Expo? I can't remember.
We've got one coming up in April.
Okay, so that's a little bit of
dates. But if you want to go ahead, we both have our websites listed. You can find those dates on the websites.
Perfect.
Just so you'll know, this will make me happy. The website, as you see, is Vita Perceptions. Notice I didn't say Vita. Vita means life. Life is a Latin word. So Vita, life perceptions. So I really appreciate you very much. As always, this is a delight. I'm just so thrilled and excited to be a part of this wonderful, spectacular journey. Not only this particular journey, but the journey of life.
Let's do it. And we'll be weekly. So we're going to be walking along, and we're going to get all these topics and more. And if there's a topic you really want discussed, drop that in the comments, and we will, if it gets voted high enough, we might take it into particular consideration.
Absolutely. I'm going to do want your support. Please go ahead and pay attention, ask the questions, be a part of our journey. We'd love to be a part of yours.
All right. Well, Terri, I'm going to let you go get some dinner. And then I'll see you next week. I love you so, so much. You're very busy, so thank you for your time.
Thank you.
This is the best
Dreams.
Take care. I love you.
I love you too.